Road. Tigers captain Ellis Genge and fly-half George Ford's final appearance at home. There'll also be a minute's applause for Tom Young's wife Tiffany, who lost her battle with cancer earlier this week. Dan Kelly returns for his first game since April to start at inside centre, and Julian Montoya is also back in the 15. Vice-captain Hunro Liebenberg says it doesn't matter who they're playing tomorrow, it's about how Leicester cope with the pressure.
Number 2, Dane Patterson. And now let's hear it for the Leicestershire Foxes. They line up with number 55, Scott Steele. Wearing 23 is Lewis Hill. 7, Aaron Riley. 48, your captain, Colin Ackerman. Wearing 26, Rishi Patel. 24 is Liam Wilber. Wearing 8, Ben Mike. 16 is Rian Ahmed. 10,
3:30 kickoff then. It's a 4:30 kickoff, I should say, tomorrow. We're on the air at 3:30 tomorrow afternoon with the usual crew from Mattioli Woods, Welford Road. It should be quite an occasion. First time Leicester have been at that stage for, 5-6 years or so. Can't wait for that one tomorrow. Leicester City have announced that goalkeeper Eldin Jakupovic will leave the club at the end of this month after 5 seasons. Vontae Daly-Campbell, Callum Hume, Will Russ, Therese Shade and Jacob Wakeling will also depart the King Power Stadium. The transfer window officially opening today, but a little early to see any players coming in just yet. Good news for Andy Murray. He's beaten Greek top seed Stefanos Tsitsipas to reach the semi-finals of the Stuttgart Open. It's the first time that Murray has managed victory over a top 5 player since 2016, after all of his injury woes over the last few years. And Ferrari's Charles Leclerc has headed the Red Bulls of Sergio Perez and his title rival Max Verstappen in second practice at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. George Russell, the fastest Mercedes, in 7th place, with Lewis Hamilton a little way down in 12th, but qualifying, of course, taking place tomorrow afternoon. It's BBC Radio Leicester Sport, live here from the Uptonsteel County Ground, Grace Road. Nottinghamshire, the visitors, to take on Leicestershire. And we will see how Leicestershire's batsmen get on after Leicestershire won the toss and decided to bat first. You have a choice of listening from 7 o'clock. We get underway with the cricket here at 6:30, but then at 7 o'clock on FM, Hurdle White is there to start your Friday night in the best possible way. And then we'll continue live from the cricket here on DAB, the BBC Sport website and app. Plus, of course, we're available via BBC Sounds, so lots to keep you occupied. And of course, we mentioned the rugby. Should also mention this is not the only time that these two teams will get it on at Grace Road over the next 72 hours. They meet in a championship game here, which starts at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. And Richard will be back bright and early and bushy-tailed, perhaps, Sunday morning to bring you ball by ball via the BBC Sport websites and app. Leicestershire against Nottinghamshire back in the County Championship for tomorrow afternoon. 5 minutes or so away from play starting here tonight, and there are 1 or 2 still making their way into this terrific and rather undervalued sporting arena. It doesn't always get the love that maybe Welford Road and the King Power does, but we love it all the same, Richard. And you just want to see more people in the ground tonight. But I just moving away from the game tonight, I can't help thinking that if you played T20 back in the school holidays for a game like this, it would be full.
It's an ongoing debate, shall we say, between everybody else and the ECB, isn't it? But the arrival of the 100, the introduction of the 100 has rather stymied the shall we say, latitude of the organisers in, as to how the games should be spread out, and we'll be just playing 50 over cricket throughout August. Essentially, it's a long old day for kids. Is a 50 over game, 100 overs. So we'll see what sort of crowds they attract. But the ground is filling up quite nicely tonight, and I think by around about 7. Probably about 3/4 full, something like that, and it's just lovely to be warm again, isn't it?
Oh, it's glorious. I'm actually disappointed in your dress code, gentlemen, because I'm seeing 3 delightful Hawaiian shirts heading right in front of the David Gower suite, and then heading to those mound stand-like umbrellas. Gentlemen, you've let me down. I came virtually suited and booted for this one. The dress code needs to improve for next week against Worcestershire.
I'm suited and booted. I've got a shirt. I've got a lovely Oxford shirt on, some smart shoes. I've put some effort in.
We'll acquire Hawaiian shirts if and when we... That is a promise.
We're all turning up like a stag do,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
given the amount of practice that Adam has had at stag parties this summer, he will fit in naturally. Richard, you're getting your desire. Mr. Lewis Hill preparing to open up with Aaron Lilly.
Yeah,
it would look like.
Rishi was named on the team sheet as opener, but Hill has played really cleverly and nicely and used pace of the ball so well that I think everyone would be fairly pleased to see. Famous last words. It probably won't get very many tonight, but he's got that ability, and it's a sort of nice contrast if he's going to go in at the top of the order with Scott Steele. So let's see how he gets on. But yeah, he's in good form and he's confident. And out come the umpires Peter Hartley and Rob Bailey.
Well, I tell you what, Richard. After that, no introductions required. Then why don't you take it away, sir?
Rob Bailey carrying the nuclear codes, aka the box of new white balls and replacement white balls. If batsmen get hold of some of these shots in the wind that we have today, and it is blowing very strongly from the south across the ground over the pavilion, then our catching skills might be called upon in front of this window, and those of the people alongside us on the Burrows Terrace atop the pavilion. But we shall see. We shall see. Players ready to come out, Adam? And
they are, yes, we're just waiting.
Not below us.
It is an absolutely glorious evening here in this part of Leicestershire. Completely blue skies, a little bit of white cloud in there, and as Chris was saying, a lovely sight, seeing so many people in, plenty still wandering into the ground that we can see making their way round into their seats, and it should be a good evening. Friday night is perfect for T20 Blast cricket. It brings the audience usually, and a local derby should do that, as should the promise of a very enjoyable evening too.
Noise you could probably hear in the effects mic is actually the flags that the children are holding that are going so hard in the wind. It's not a breeze, it's a wind. And the trees obviously all in full leaf as well. It is very strong out there. As Rob Bailey and Peter Hartley, ex-Northants, ex-Yorkshire, of course, head out into the middle. I always think of Bailey as being very tall, but he's not that much taller than Peter Hartley, followed by Dan Christian and the Nottinghamshire Outlaws team in sort of daffodil yellow this year. It's not unfetching, I don't know.
No, I think it's actually quite nice, I would agree. It's a nice kit. Leicestershire all in green. That wind will play a huge role tonight. The flags illustrated, didn't they, Richard, that just how strong it is. It was blowing right towards us, so I would imagine that if bowlers are bowling from the Bennett end on the far side of the ground, we're going to see a lot of scoops and ramps, which is Lewis Hill's forte. It seems to be his way of getting the ball to the boundary, getting his sixes and fours. And if it's bowled from the pavilion end, expect to see a lot of shots down the ground. If the wind is utilised properly, you could get a high score here. I would imagine not many people are going to try and hit it into the wind.
County Championship Player of the Year last year is going to open the bowling for Nottinghamshire. 66 wickets did he take last year in the County Championship? Big Luke.
Big tall man, isn't he? Was he 6'6", Luke Fletcher? Yes. And he's fair-haired and, as you say, a very big, bulky man, very tall.
Not quite so effective with white ball in hand. He hasn't played all the games for the Outlaws so far. He's picked up 7 wickets in the 4 games in which he's played.
Nottinghamshire going with their 2 men in the power play while the fielding restrictions are out. You allow 2 men on the boundaries in the opening 6 overs. They are at fine leg and deep square leg. I would have put them at long off and long on perhaps, but there we are. I'm not a cricket captain. So there's somebody in the way of the side screen here who is being waved away, or there is something. Yes, there is. There's somebody there. I can just see them moving across now. Might be one of the broadcasters, I think. Here we go then. Leicestershire against Nottinghamshire in the T20 Blast. Fletcher bowls the first ball and is trying to be guided behind the stumps from Hill. Misses by a whisker. Fletcher not exactly pushing it through at any pace, but Hill struggling with it there. Sorry, Richard.
It didn't miss anything by very much.
No.
It was extraordinary. Got away with it.
So the fans still making their way into the ground. Lovely sight, this Grace Road on a summer's evening. As Fletcher runs away from us, he's up to the wicket, he bowls. Oh, and a big heave from Hill, it's completely missed. And once more misses that off stump by a matter of inches. So we've had 2 balls, 2 near misses. The score none for none still.
And out at long leg and square leg. Be lively down there at square leg in front of the Uptonsteel popular seats between the meet and the electronic scoreboard.
Yes, I'd imagine that there will be a few pelters aimed at whoever that is out there. As Fletcher, 19 on his back, moves in, he bowls, and Hill tries to make room for himself. Fletcher followed him, they'll get 2 for this, as it split the fielders at long leg and deep square leg. It was a decent bit of bowling because he cramped Hill up the room. He almost was picking the ball up on the pull from around his rib cage. But Leicestershire off the mark. 3 balls gone in this innings, in this local derby. 3 local derbies in 3 days. You could argue 4 local derbies in 4 games. Nottinghamshire back here on Sunday in the county championship. As Fletcher is in, he bowls, and there is that scoop, and there is 4 runs. That's a nice shot from Hill. It's almost a reverse paddle, probably, not a scoop. Picking it up from the leg stump, clipping it away, and that was nicely timed from Hill. I thought he would start to utilise those shots, maybe not from that end, but either way, it was perfectly well timed, perfectly well placed, and the first boundary goes to Hill. 6 for no loss.
Extraordinary shot, really.
You would never have seen a shot like that, what, 15 years ago, even
No,
10, 15 years
indeed,
ago.
yeah.
But it beat Samit Patel, who's sort of at a backward point as Fletcher bowls, and there is the attempted shot again, and he's nicked it and out. The umpire's finger went straight up, and that was probably unwise from Hill. He went for the same shot again. Fletcher banging the ball into the pitch this time, and the bounce doing for Hill, who got the lightest feather on it, and the umpire gave him out immediately. So Leicestershire lose their first wicket in the first over, and Hill has to depart 4-6. The Foxes 6 for 1.
Yeah, as you say, not the wisest of choices. Trying to repeat the reverse hit or switch hit. Fletcher banged it in. And having got the 4, didn't really need to.
Especially play a shot like that.
They've done it, yeah. It's a high-risk shot, isn't it, in terms of the return when it's banged in like that. And disappointing to see Hill, who has played well in the competition, in the few opportunities that he's had, sort of get out like that so early. 120 runs Hill had coming into this fixture, so Lilly comes in early.
It will be Lilly who makes his way out. This has been familiar for him. Good innings from him though last night. His first really decent score for the Foxes, 67 off 41 deliveries, 9 4s and 2 6s. He gave the Foxes the impetus in their innings. They looked set for a very good score until things slowed down towards the end of the innings. 181 they managed, and Derbyshire knocked those off. Shah Massoud with an absolutely incredible innings. He's played well again tonight as the Pakistani. But Fletcher to bowl then, the final ball of the first over. He's up to the wicket, he bowls, and that's outside the off stump. Has he got another one? He has. Lilly walks away, and he's got a little feather on that, and Fletcher gets 2 and 2 to end the over, and the Fox is in trouble already. Lilly with no foot movement to that stroke. It was an attempted cover drive, but you've got to get your feet to the pitch of the ball if you're going to play it, and it went straight through to the wicket keeper behind the stumps, and Tom Moore's taking the catch. So Lilly goes for a first ball duck. The Fox is 6 for 2 at the end of the first over and in trouble.
Horror show first over for Leicestershire, with the exception of 1 delivery, I'm afraid. And 2 of their quicker scorers have come and gone quickly. Colin Ackerman comes to the wicket at the start of the second over, so the captain can at least have a little bit of a look. It was a fairly one poke at the ball outside off stump from Aaron Lilly, feathered the catch, a simple catch through to Tom Moores. And Luke Fletcher, who may not have played all the Notts T20 games so far this season, but he's been effective when he has, and he was effective again there. So 6 for 2. Scott Steele, yet to face a ball, is about to do so from Dane Patterson, the South African who's played just once for Notts so far this season in the competition. Picked up 2 for 30 in the game that he played. He's lively, and Tom Moore's the wicketkeeper standing quite a way back as he comes in from the Bennett end, bowls just outside off stump, and Steele pushes it out into the covers. Duckett is the fielder, and you heard possibly the immediate call of no from Steele in the effects mic. The men out at deep backward square, and looking round, and at long leg Samit Patel down here below us, in front of the Notts dugout pretty much. Patterson is in, straight-ish run, bowls fairly straight, hits the pads of Scott Steele as he tries to work it into the leg side. Stephen Mullaney walks in and picks up. There is half an appeal from Moores, who started to leap into the air, realised that it was going down leg side and that Patterson had not appealed at all, so he didn't bother going through with the appeal. 6 for 2 remains the score.
Everybody's looked in trouble. Everybody's looked like they are troubled, I should say, by these early deliveries. It's a worrying sign.
Patterson, with the wind behind him, comes in and bowls. Steele again tries to work it into the leg side. It's possibly on him a little bit more quickly than he thought it was going to be. It was a fairly straight delivery, and all he can do is shovel it off the back foot towards Mullaney again. So good start from Patterson, a good start from Notts generally. Foxes have got to give their bowlers something to bowl at least, in front of another very good crowd. As Patterson is in, Steele is going to pick up a run this time. He gets it past Mullaney. In fact, he's going to pick up a couple as the fielder comes in from the deep square boundary and gets his throw away. And 2 taken, Steele off the mark.
Good group of supporters over to our right-hand side, stood up, enjoying the cricket. The Leicestershire Outlaws, pretty vocal.
Calvin Harrison out there, the only cricketer with whom I actually share a birthday that I've been able to find. So I always look out to see how he does. In goes Patterson and bowls. Back foot defensive attempt to carve it away through the offside. Doesn't time it. Shakes his right hand there, Steele, as it came off at the top part of the bat up near the splice and trickled out towards point. No run. 8 for 2. Just the 2 runs from the over so far. Notts will be delighted with the start that they've made. I can see Leicestershire analyst Dan Weston below us with his computer. We'll have to bring some binoculars next time to see what he's analysing away down there. Patterson is in. Steele again, minimal foot movement, is pushing at the ball outside, on off stump and out into the covers it goes. Duckett is the fielder. Just the 1 scoring shot. 2 runs taken from the over. Leicestershire, after 2 runs of their inverted commas power, close inverted commas play, are 8 for 2.
Great production skills from Chris Edgerton. Some binoculars provided, Richard.
Ah, okay.
So you can peek on all the stats. New Zealand have finished day 1 at Trent Bridge of that second test against England, 318 for 4. Bad day for England, plenty of missed chances by the looks of things. Nottinghamshire have taken their chances though, and the man who took 2 wickets in the opening over, Luke Fletcher, is to return. This has been a miserable start for Leicestershire in this match. 2 overs gone, 8 for 2. 2 for 6 from Fletcher from his first over. And he bustles in now, away from us. He's up to the wicket, he bowls. It's a straight delivery that Ackerman defends. It's his first delivery faced. He definitely would not have been wanting to come to the crease at the end of the first over. As the captain, he probably would have wanted to come in at about 120 for 2, not 6 for 2.
After about 8 overs, something like that.
This
Can
not
but
ideal.
dream.
But he has a chance to build an innings, and he's the kind of player that can do it. He's not a biffer. He doesn't smack it to all quarters. It's a good chance for him. Fletcher bowls, and this is pushed out into the offside. Oh, and there's a shot at the stumps. Steele was in. He came a little bit too far down the trap, but was sent back by his captain. He dashed back with his bat in his right hand behind the crease, and there is no run. 8 for 2. It's a slow start again in the power play. Notts squeezing the Foxes early on and getting wickets, putting them under a huge amount of pressure. Nice murmur in the crowd at Grace Road. Very heavy wind. I can see the Leicestershire flag fluttering heavily in the breeze to my left-hand side as Fletcher runs in, bowls down the pitch comes Ackerman, and that's a lovely shot. It's effective over the covers. He got to the pitch of it, even though it came to the on the up a little bit. He cuts it over cover for 4 runs and in towards the cheerleaders there, who have scampered to celebrate in front of the crowd as a result of that. Oh, great jump there from one of them. It's just as the fielder's going to go and pick the ball up right in front of them, down in cover. So 12 for 2, Ackerman onto 4.
The cheer that greeted that was sort of tinged with relief, I think, a little bit.
A little bit of irony, I'd suggest, probably.
Possibly, but you know, the crowd are so desperate for them to do well, in all seriousness, that you know they can't afford to be bowled out for a small total here. They've got to be competitive in this game.
Paul Nixon has said they need to win this game. Fletcher up to the wicket, he bowls, and that's pulled away by Ackerman, and that is going to go for 1 bounce 4. Just behind, square on the leg side. He was onto that quickly and whipped it away. Nice use of the wrist from Ackerman. That's a real strength of his. And that was a poor ball from Fletcher, and it got dispatched as it needed to. Ackerman on to 8, and the Fox is now on to 16 for 2.
A lovely piece of timing. It was only a foot or so short of being 6.
Yeah, Paul Nixon speaking to us last night, saying they needed to win this game to stay in the competition. Have any hopes of a quarter-final? Fletcher bowls, and this is driven to cover. Didn't look comfortable. It was a full delivery, maybe a little bit of movement from Ackerman. No run from that. Lost to Derbyshire last night by 6 wickets. Means their record is played 8, won 3, lost 5. They still haven't won a game at Grace Road in this campaign all season.
No, all the county championship.
Yeah. They desperately need to do that. Can tonight against their big rivals be the night? Fletcher to Ackerman, who defends this time, out to cover. There is no run, just trying to time that. That's the end of the over. Well, 2 fours off it, that will do. And the Foxes then 16 for 2 at the end of the 3rd over. And Ackerman's role vital, you would think, as Leicestershire try and rebuild themselves after a horror start. You're listening to BBC Radio Leicester. Adam Whitty, Richard Ray with you. Reminder, it's 7 o'clock. If you are a regular listener to Hurdle White, it is Reggae and Soca Show. That will be on FM this evening. But if you're listening on DAB, then stay with us. We will bring you through for this Leicestershire Foxes against Nottinghamshire Outlaws match on DAB, BBC Sounds, and the BBC Sport website now.
Samit Patel, Leicester-born, of course. He's going to come on and purvey his left arm spin from the Bennett end. He's going to be bowling around the wicket to Scott Steele. He tosses it right up, and Steele looks to drive it, but he checks the shot rather, pushes it out too wide mid-off, thinks about the possibility of a second, because Christian makes a little bit of a fumble running away to his left to make the stop, but he does make the stop, gets the bird from the crowd, which he acknowledges with a wave. Single to Steele, 3 off 7 for the former Durham man. Brings Ackerman down on strike. Patel is in. Ackerman steps back, looks to swinging it away. He was followed by Patel. He didn't get any, might have got a bottom edge to it. Carter is in pursuit. He did get a bottom edge on it, and it runs down the slope, crosses the ropes. Matt Carter's pursuit always looked likely to be in vain. It wasn't entirely committed.
It looked like it was in slow motion half the time, didn't it? The ball trickling to the boundary and the run, if I'm being honest.
It did. Neither was particularly fast, it has to be said. Ackerman picks up 4. Well, not particularly convincingly, but he'll take it. Again, Patel bowls. He sweeps just short of the man coming in from deep backward square, who's hurt himself, actually. Leicestershire don't therefore run a second. The Notts fielders will go pick up the ball, and they run across to see if he's okay. It's Calvin Harrison out there. He didn't know whether to go for it. In the end, he finally made up his mind, went for it, but it bounced just in front of him, but bounced up and hit him as he dived forward. I'm just trying to see what he's sort of on his knees now. He's picked himself up. His shoulder, Ben Duckett is pointing to, his left shoulder, but now he's saying I think that he's okay. The Notts physio comes up. He's standing up now. But that was decent of Ackerman, because Leicestershire could have easily kept running there, because it bounced off him and he didn't go and chase after it. He was just picking himself up and making sure he was all right. Leicestershire could have easily picked up a couple of extra runs on that occasion. They settled for one. Ackerman is very decently waiting to see if Harrison is okay.
Yeah, very good
Leg
sporting
break
behaviour.
Bowler seems to be, I think. Is he going to be going off? He's just stretching his left shoulder, and he's going to stay out there, it looks like to me. He's telling the physio he wants to stay out there.
That would have hit him with a fair old whack. It was well hit by Ackerman. And it's a tricky one, isn't it, when that ball bounces it, and it bounced right off the surface quite highly, straight into his shoulder by the looks of things.
Sol Budinger, who is the 12th man, was ready to come on and replace him, but he's going off again now, and Harrison is staying out there. So just a single after all that to Ackerman. He moves on to 13-22 for 2. Patel is in, bowls full, Steele waits for it, clips it out towards mid-on, but mid-on is on the edge of the circle, so no run on that occasion. Steele just taking his time as Patel is in, reverse swept, but it was a full toss, I think, in the end, and he reverse swept it straight to the man on the edge of the circle. So a bit of a wasted opportunity, I would suggest there. Steele just waited for the delivery, could have cracked it away through the offside. That's a full-ish delivery from Patel that's stroked out to mid-off on that occasion. This time Christian has a bit of ground to make up to the ball, and so Steele takes 123 for 2 at the end of the over. So how many is that from it? 7 from it. Notts will still be pretty pleased with the position after 4 overs of the power play.
4 off 10 for Steele.
Yeah.
Seeing himself in. Needs to up that run rate pretty quickly. I'd say that's probably the maximum you're allowed before you start pushing on. Ackerman looks in decent touch. 13 from 8 he is on at the moment. And so there's a change of bowling at this near end, the pavilion end here at Grace Road. And it's going to be Matt Carter. Only 1 wicket in 6 innings with a decent economy rate. His first delivery is pushed out to deep cover. They go for the single, and that moves the score on to 24 for 2. Steele 5 from 11, and now Ackerman will face the 2 men out on the boundary as we enter the 5th over at that deep mid-wicket area. As Ackerman sweeps and gets it fine, it's going to go to short fine leg. It's fielded. I think there's that Fletcher there. It's got a recognisable figure for being so tall, and he fields single added. Ackerman on to 13. It's a leg by, was it?
Yeah.
Carter tosses this one up. Back goes Steele and quite casually pushes it out into the offside. They think about 2, but that's well fielded by the man at deep backward square leg, whose throw is parried by the wicket keeper, Moores. Carter gets the ball back. Ackerman just sort of surveying the scene, looking at where the fielders are. They're there for the sweep at deep backward square leg. He comes down the track and he's stumped. Carter runs away and celebrates. He's a big, tall bowler, so even if you do get to the pitch of the ball, it might get that little bit of extra bounce, and he missed it with the wicket-keeper up at the stump, Tom Moores. He just whipped the bails off nice and quickly, and Ackerman goes, and a 3rd wicket falls for Leicestershire this start. Continues to be bad, and probably their main hope of salvaging a quick restart to their innings has gone. Ackerman dismissed for 13, and the Foxes 26 for 3, and here comes Vian Mulder.
Yeah, feels big, that wicket, doesn't it? They always talk about losing 3 in their power play, and very, very difficult to really recover from there. Ackerman, as you said, did look in reasonable touch at least, but maybe felt a little bit under pressure with Steele. Not exactly becalmed, but certainly not going all guns blazing at the moment, Scott Steele. Down the wicket, and Carter, decent bowler, the off spinner, got a 100 deal again this season. 26-year-old from Lincoln. And Notts will be chuffed to bits. So Vian Mulder, what can you do? Not the position he'd have liked to have come in, as you say, but plenty of overs to bat if he bats with a bit of intelligence.
Yeah. Big job on for the South African. As Carter bowls down the track comes Mulder. Gets it on the bounce, but didn't look comfortable as he just flicked it away to mid-wicket. No run. As Carter, 20 on his back, tall spinner, comes in and beats him outside off stump. That's a beauty. There's an appeal for a stumping, very half-hearted. Mulder picks up the ball, picks up the bail, I should say, and that's the end of the over. Gives it to the umpire. 26 for 3. The bad start for Leicestershire continues. Ackerman a key wicket falling in that over. So Mulder on none, Steele on 6 of 12 deliveries. And there was just 3 runs off that over in the end, Richard. And the Foxes 26 for 3 after 5 overs.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to tell how much there actually is in the pitch, but I think there is something there. And maybe if they can get to sort of 150, you know, it could be the equivalent of 170 on a decent track. Dan Christian, the skipper, is bringing himself on. Extraordinary sort of white ball career Dan Christian has had, or is continuing to have. 39-year-old Australian. Plays all over the world and very well. It goes in and bowls to Steele, who can only push the ball back up the pitch to the Australian, born in New South Wales. Again, minimal foot movement. A little bit of seam movement perhaps for Christian. Not, you can probably hear them calling out encouragement to each other.
Yeah,
very buoyed by this start. 26 for 3, final over of the power play. Christian is in, and that surely is a no ball on height. No, he banged it in, and Steele tried to ramp it over the head of Moores. Didn't get anything on it, and sort of looks, well, does more than look questioningly at the umpire. Says, well, why wasn't that called a wide? A, it followed him a little bit, he backed away, but B, indication from the umpire is that Rob Bailey, is that it wasn't above shoulder height when it went past him, but hard to believe. Anyway, dot ball, 26 for 3 remains the score. Christian is in. Steele gets a delivery on his hip that he turns out towards deep backward square, stroke wide long leg. Should be 2, is a comfortable 2. Harrison has clearly fully recovered. He was hit on the left shoulder, and he's a right-hander, so not too many issues. Gets his throw away, but Steele picks up a couple. Moves on to 8 from 15 balls faced. 28 for 3.
He hasn't looked comfortable as soon as he came in, Steele.
Christian is in and bowls, hits him on the back pad as he looks to work it into the leg side, bounces out into the off side, and the leg by is taken. Again, not comfortable at all out there, Scott Steele. Maybe it just seemed back in a touch to him. Not sure it did. Christian, for a 39-year-old, can bowl quite lively. He's got a sort of slightly slingy action, javelin style. And coming down the slope with the wind behind him, he can still generate a decent amount of pace. Goes in and bowls, and that one will surely be signalled wide as it is down the leg side. Mulder doesn't get anything on it, and there is an ironic cheer from the popular seats and a toot of the vuvuzela. 30 for 3. They're now at the stage where they're cheering wides, and it's prompting cheers and chants. An indication that it's been fairly meagre fare for the Leicestershire supporters so far.
Just 4 boundaries to cheer, with 2 balls left in the power play.
Christian in, down the leg side. That should be another wide. Mulder doesn't bother playing at it, so 2 wides in the over from Dan Christian. I was just praising his bowling, but he's rather lost control at the moment. 31 for 3. Let's all have a disco, is the chant from the popular seats. as you say, a pleasing buzz around the ground, but it's a slightly nervous one at the moment, looking at the scoreboard. 31 for 3. Christian in 2. Mulder, who is beaten, and there is half an appeal for a catch behind. There isn't one, but there was certainly movement away there, and he indicates that it had moved away from him. He went for a half-hearted drive, didn't get anything on it. So 3 balls, legitimate deliveries faced by Vian Mulder. Yet to get off the mark. It's a little bit of away swing. Maybe the wind helped a fraction there. Christian in to finish his over, assuming it isn't another wide, is in, and Mulder is looking to force it out into the offside off the back foot. It bounces down, but only as far as Duckett in the covers. End of the over. Well, thankfully, the couple of wides meant that it wasn't an entire bust as far as the Foxes were concerned. 31 for 3, 5 runs from it. Steele has 8 off 16. Mulder has yet to score. End of the power play. Not many teams go on to post really competitive totals from 31 for 3 after the power play.
And it's a problem we've talked about before, which is that they seem to really struggle, Leicestershire, to post competitive totals in the power play, to get themselves off to a really quick start, really force the issue. It's a massive problem for them because, put simply, they're under the pressure from the very start, and this is possibly the innings, apart from Derbyshire, you would imagine, where they lost at home here, where they've been put under the most pressure. 31 for 3 is a pretty dismal score from the power play. Now the fielding restrictions change. Carter comes in and Steele just pushes this away to mid-wicket, fielded off his own bowling by Carter, who speeds along and will run back to his mark, I'm sure, to run quickly again. Steele then moves on to 9 off 17 deliveries. It's very rare you see around a 50 strike rate. As Carter bowls, Mulder this time makes room for himself, gets off the mark with a flick of the wrists behind square on the leg side. So he goes to 1 off 5, 33 for 3. Yeah, there is a very healthy crowd in tonight. They're enjoying themselves. You can see people decked all around, not too many empty seats, which is nice. They've put a big effort in the club to get people in for this. Get people down to enjoy the cricket. Carter up to the wicket. He bowls and make room for himself. That should be pulled away, but it's only going to go for a single. That was a nicely timed shot from Steele, but it went to 2 of the men out on the boundary. Those are at deep backward square leg, deep mid wicket. We've got a long off, a long on, and a deep backward point. Everybody else inside the ring. As Mulder pulls this around the corner, very well timed. That was a brilliant shot, but it finds the fielder, who races round to his right to collect, diving as he does so. Out on the boundary there, and so there's a single to Mulder. That was a nicely timed effort from him. 35 for 3. Steele now on strike as he pulls, and the fielder again will take that on the deep mid-wicket boundary. Another single. They're trying to hit it hard and heave it away, the Leicestershire players, but all they're doing at the moment is finding the fielders.
Yeah, Joe Clark it is out there, deep mid-wicket.
Carter up to the wicket now, bowls down the track, he comes, that's a big hit, it's high up in the air, it should go all the way for 6, the fielder isn't bothering with it, and nor should he, because it does go over the rope. That's a big hit from Mulder, that's what the Foxes fans would want to see from him. A bit of muscle, a bit of aggression, and he has found the boundary rope without it bouncing, so 6 runs for him. He moves on to 8, and that's a good end to the over for the Foxes, who at this point are still struggling, but maybe that will just give them the impetus they need to push on from here. Just a few moments. If you're listening to us on FM, you will leave us. You've got a choice of listening on BBC Radio Leicester now. If you want to listen to Hurdle White's Reggae and Soca show, you can do that. That is on FM, but on DAB, on BBC Sounds and the BBC Sport website and app. You will stay with us here for T20 cricket at Grace Road.
And Dan, Christian will continue from the Bennett end. That was a huge boost, that over, and that shot in particular from Vian Mulder used the wind So it's soaring over long gone. Christian comes in from the Bennett end, bowls to Steele, tucks him up, plays it firmly out to mid-wicket, diving across to his left, can't gather the ball cleanly.
And we'll leave you now for Hurdle White on FM.
43 for 3. Steele on to 12. 20 balls he's faced for that 12. Maybe he's going to play the anchor role, such as anyone ever does in this form of the game. Christian turns. A straight run. In and bowls to Mulder, who looks to turn him into the leg side. Might have got a little inside edge onto his pad. It trickles down towards Carter at long leg. No signal from umpire Bailey, so he did get a little inside edge onto the pad. He moves on to 9, 44 for 3. I think the ground is fuller than it was for the game earlier this week, when it was announced as a sellout.
Yeah, I agree.
There are more people in the ground, certainly. Not everyone took up their tickets.
It wasn't as nice a weather. I wonder whether people
indeed.
bought in advance tickets, decided they didn't want to risk the weather.
Christian is in to Steele, who's going to be caught at mid-wicket and is dropped short. And he just sort of scooped it more or less straight to mid-wicket, who just fell forward, Duckett didn't really almost fall forward, just bent forward almost and took a simple catch. So once again, as soon as Leicestershire threatened to build a partnership, they lose a wicket. Scott Steele's innings, which never really got going, ends on 12 off 21 balls, and the Foxes are 44 for 4.
That was a pretty grim shot, I thought, from Steele in what was a stuttering and faltering innings. The problem is, if you use up 21 balls, you've got to do something with it. You've got to push on from there. And so to fall like that in a bit of a whimper doesn't look good at all on the scorecard, because they've used plenty of balls, quite a few overs at the start of this innings, and haven't got any runs from them. They need to up the rate, and it puts a lot of pressure with 4 wickets down on the likes of Rishi Patel coming in now and Vian Mulder.
Yeah, again, there was minimal foot movement. The bat speed was reasonably good, but he completely clothed it, and it just looped simplest of catches.
His feet didn't get moving the entire innings.
They never do they,
but
really?
It seemed to be particularly noticeable in this innings.
Indeed. So Christian, 1 for 6 from his 1.3 overs, comes in and bowls to Rishi Patel, bowls down the leg side and is signalled wide, his third. Dan Christian, 45 for 4. So many overs to go, 7.3 bowled so far, the run rate just 6, 12.5 overs left to the Foxes. Patel can play himself in to a certain extent. He waits as Christian turns. 162 runs so far for Patel, who's pushing that one into the gap in the covers. Buddinger's out there now, so somebody has gone off. Runs in and fields, and 1 is taken. Patel off the mark, 46 for 4.
Do you think they've stuck the substitute fielder out in front of the popular stand?
Yeah.
So he takes the cop. Nice energy about that stand over there. Plenty of people stood up, engaging with the game, but
on both sides of the ground, really, they're desperate for a good innings from somebody. In goes Christian, bowls a slower delivery down the leg side, and it clips the pad, unfortunately for Leicestershire and for Vian Mulder, and it trickles down to Tom Moores behind the stumps, and Mulder, livid with himself for not getting anything on it, he just tried to help it on its way, didn't get anything on it, took the pace off the ball nicely though. Christian, in fairness, 46 for 4 remains the score. 1 ball to go in the 8th over. An awful lot for Leicestershire to do to post a competitive score, but we've seen teams recover from this sort of position before. Christian is in again down the leg side. Again, Mulder tries to help it on its way. This time he succeeds. You can tell from the cheers of the crowd as Moores dived across to his left, couldn't get there, and long leg, no chance at all. Carter, not the fastest mover across the pitch at the best of times. In fact, was it signalled leg byes in the end? I thought he just.
I thought there was
before.
a very woody noise off the bat there.
50 up for the Foxes anyway, and it does look like it was leg byes only. Not that that matters too much. Mulder might be a bit disappointed. He remains on 13 off 10 Foxes. As I say, 50 for 4 after 8.
Well, Mulder has been a bright spark so far. Nice 6 off the last over from this end, the pavilion end, and then that little nudge for 4, even though he didn't get the bat on it by the looks of things. It's just given them probably the minimum amount of runs. We've got a change of bowling at this near end, the pavilion end. It'll be Calvin Harrison, I should say. Economy rate of about 8 from 4 innings.
Rehan Ahmed should be watching this with interest.
It's a leg spinner, big tall man who beats him with a beauty. Flight and dip and spin, and Patel moved his front foot forward to it. It went outside his outside edge. That was a ripper. He's got floppy brown hair, has Harrison, as it's pushed into the offside. Will they go for 2? Patel wants it. It's a rather casual approach from the fielder out in the deep there, but only the single taken. The second would have been too much of a risk. Sun setting just to our right. Over the houses there. This part of Leicester. Harrison up to the wicket, he bowls, drags this one down, and it's flicked away by a Mulder out to deep backward square leg. There is a single taken. There's a fielder out there for the sweep. Both the fine leg and third men are up deep mid wicket. Long off, long on.
Get Stephen Mullaney out there.
And deep point for the right-handed Patel, who's 2 not out off 3 deliveries. Harrison tosses this one up, and Patel drives down the ground, and in comes the on-rushing Alex Hales. He'll have a big role to play with the bat later. He's probably the key wicket for the Foxes later on in this match. 53 for 3. Mulder then playing his first game in this T20 competition for the Foxes, as Harrison skips up now. He bowls outside off stump. It's cut by Mulder. It was very wide from Harrison, and just a single taken. They haven't really taken advantage of the bad balls, Leicestershire. That possibly could have been left. Either way, 54 for 4 is the score for this 6th against 7th clash, but Nottinghamshire have played 2 fewer games than Leicestershire. Harrison with a short run up, driven by Patel. Well, they go for 2 here. They probably should, and they will do, particularly as the ball is spilt by the fielder running round from deep point. And that is the end of the over from Harrison. 56 for 4 is the score. We've had 9 overs now, 6 runs from the over. Leicestershire still struggling, still spluttering their way towards a total, but they need to up the ante soon. They're nearly halfway through the innings and they've only managed 56. They've lost 4 quick wickets too.
There's definitely something there for the spinners as well as the seamers. So the Foxes will know that they could make inroads themselves with the ball, but they do need a decent score at which to bowl. Samit Patel is back from the Bennett end, bowls to Rehan Mulder, who plays it firmly back up the pitch towards the veteran all-rounder, who dives to his left and gets half a hand to it, slows it down, pushes it across to Christian. Mulder takes his single, moves on to 16, 57 for 4. Patel in to Rishi Patel, who drives pleasantly, and it's going slightly wide of long off, but he gets there quickly and gets his throwaway equally quickly, so it is again just the one. Nice piece of timing though from Rishi Patel. Moves on to 6 and a runner ball. Patel is in to Mulder, who again is pushing it wide to the left of Samit Patel. This time Patel gets enough on the ball to knock it down and make sure that Mulder doesn't this time take the single. 58 for 4 remains the score. Patel is in, tosses it up, big swing and a miss, and there's an appeal for a stumping, but although he did take the bails off Tom Moore's Björn Mulder's back foot was in the crease. He remains on 16.58 for 4. Patel is in. Quicker delivery, goes back and pulls. It's going to go along the ground out towards deep mid-wicket. Duckett Fields gets his throw away. Just a single for Mulder. He moves on to 17. Top scorer in the innings so far, though. Björn Mulder brings Patel back down on strike. In goes Samit. Patel bowls and a slightly thick inside edge as he looks to drive again there. Rishi Patel. Another good over for the Outlaws. Just the 3 runs from it. 59 for 4. And we are at halfway stage, I'm afraid.
So that run rate under a run a ball as it stands, which is pretty disappointing in such an important game for Leicestershire. We've had, I think, 5 fours and a 6. 3 of those coming from Colin Ackerman. It's been pretty dull stuff from a boundary hitting perspective as Harrison begins his second over. Oh, and that has hit Patel's bat. I was trying to think where that had gone. Everybody took a dive for it. The umpire was terrified. I was worried it had hit him first. You heard the wooden clunk of the of ball on bat. That was because Mulder smashed it back and it hit Rishi Patel's bat, and he hit the bat afterwards. Patel in disappointment. Mulder tosses this one up. He goes for it again. That's a half volley. That's 6. That's a big hit from Mulder. He may be the big hope in this innings, and down over long on it goes. Huge hit. That was deep into the benches down there where everybody sat, and big hit from Mulder. His second 6. He's trying to build up the pace, is the South African, and it's 65 for 4.
Lovely clean hit. He's a strong man.
What's Harrison's reply going to be? It's a ball that's dragged back a little bit and it finds the gap. Now this might run away for 4. It beats the fielder on the infield, but no, it was slowing up as it went towards the boundary. They will get have they got 3 there? They have. Well run. One of those occasions where the ball wasn't hit particularly hard, but it beat the infielder, beat Patel, who, with the greatest respect to the man, is there are more athletic players on the field, shall we say, so he couldn't make the diving stop, and so deep cover had to run round and get it. 68 for 4, Mulder on to 26. Patel 6 not out, but just drives this on the onside square of the wicket. It'll be fielded by the man running in at deep backward square. Single added. Patel on to 7 from 8.
Patterson is out there now. Mulaney's gone across to the offside.
31 on his back for the floppy-haired Harrison. He's got his hair in curtains as he's up to the wicket. He bowls and away it's pushed, and that should get 2 for that as it's found the gap from Mulder. The big call came out and the crowd cheer the players on as they run through for 2. Mulder on to 28, 71 for 4. There is just that little bit of impetus, isn't there, now back this innings, and Mulder has brought that pretty much on his own. Harrison, the young man, spins the ball from his right to his left hand. Now it's back in his right. He tosses it up. Oh, and a leading edge. A nice bit of flight on that. That may have, rather than being the leg spinner, that was either one that went straight or maybe moved in to the batter, and that's the end of the over. 71 for 4, Mulder on 28 off 21, Patel on 7. That's the end of the 11th over. That run rate now a little bit over above a run a ball, but they still need to be doing a lot better than this if they're going to set a total. You would think you'd want 150, Richard, wouldn't you? But I think 130, 140
minimum, really. But if Mulder is still there at the end, it is a possibility. Carter is coming on at the Bennett end. He's bowling round the wicket to Rishi Patel, who slogs sweeps out towards Stephen Mulaney. He picks it up clean. I beg your pardon, Duckett got there first this time, so it is going to be just the one. He picked it up cleanly. Decent fielder, Ben Duckett. Long way out there. They've got the rope right back. It was a clean hit from Patel. He moves on to 8, 72 for 4. Brings Mulder back down on strike. Carter steps to the wicket and bowls. Mulder just goes back and wristily works it out again as far as Duckett, just running in from deep mid-wicket, takes 1. 73 for 4. Mulder on to 29. Carter barely call it a run-up, bowls. Attempted switch hit from Rishi Patel. He's got plenty of it. Bounces out towards the fielder on the point boundary, or backward point boundary, who's Joe Clark, and again it's just 1. Patel at the moment not quite finding the gaps in the field, Carter is in. Down the wicket goes Vian Mulder. Carter sees him coming, pulls his length back. Worked off the back foot out towards Duckett by Mulder, but again it is just the singles from 4 deliveries so far for the Foxes. Good bowling from Matt Carter, who is in and tosses that one up. Carter then fields off his own bowling as Rishi Patel plays it firmly down into the ground, and it bounces nicely for the big off spinner, who steps in and bowls. Back goes Patel, pulls the slightly short ball, but only as far as Harrison, who's at deep backward square on the boundary. And once again, it's only one end of the over, 5 singles from it. Carter will be perfectly happy with that. 76 for 4. The Foxes, Vian Mulder has 30 of 23. Rishi Patel 10 of 12.
Very aware of using the sporting cliche of using the word if things happen we might have won, but it has been noticeable, I think, a little bit of bad luck from the Foxes' perspective that they've timed a lot of decent balls that have gone straight to the fielders. Had it been 6 feet either way, it might have been a bit different. Patel will continue, and that's a drive down the ground. It will go straight to the fielder. There is a man out at long off. It was uppish but wide of, and he's quite close in at cover there. It was a wide shot. The mid off is quite wide.
You can say it's good bowling and bowling to your field as well, though.
Yeah, a good field setting. Patel out. It's a wide delivery cut by Mulder. He tilts his head to the sky. Felt he should have done better and found the gap. 1 run added. 31 Mulder now is on. 78 for 4 as we're into the 13th over. Patel, diminutive figure, up to the wicket, bowls down the track comes Patel. This is hit high up in the air. That's going to be 6 runs. That's a decent shot over the scoreboard, and a man with a pint in his hand has to duck for cover, as does a man who very well holds on to his burger and chips, who had to dive for cover as well. The ball coming over the scoreboard. You can't see the ball coming from that angle, but big hit from Patel. That's what he's been waiting for. He got onto that, got to the pitch of the ball, and it flew away for 6. Patel on to 17, 84 for 4. Patel, and Patel comes down the pitch again, sides this over on the offside, and there is a single taken. Go for the big shot again. I like the look of Patel from this angle. It's notable that the 3 6s have come from this end where the wind is blowing. Patel up to the wicket, tosses this one up. That's surely a wide, is it? No, it's a well bowled delivery. No, the wide is very late in being signalled. I think the umpire was worried he was going to get the ball chucked back at him by the wicket keeper, but that was wide, left alone by Mulder. Patel up to the wicket now. He bowls down the pitch, comes Mulder. Oh, that hit the toe end of the bat. That's one of those ones that's going to send the vibrations all the way up into your hand and your arm. A single for Mulder. 32 he moves on to, 87 for 4. Patel with the final ball of the 13th over. He's up to the wicket now. He bowls, tosses this one up. It's driven straight to cover. They don't go for the single. It was hit straight at him, and that is the end of the over. So 11 off it in the end, Richard. That's correct. 6 coming. They need more of those 6s. They need more of those big moments, because they are still on for a slow total. 13 overs gone. They're deep into this innings now, and they have not got the requisite amount of runs. But with Mulder and Patel there, they might feel they can accelerate towards the end of the innings. This partnership now
43.
It's 43. That's pretty handy.
5 overs.
It's giving them a chance at the very least.
It is. They've got to have something to bowl at, and if these two can stay together over the remaining, well, what, 4 of the last 7 overs, something like that, then they could yet get that sort of 140, 150. Calvin Harrison, 2 overs for 18, is coming on at the Bennett end with his leg spin. Bowls, and it's sliced up into the air by Vian Mulder. Should be caught at long off. Is caught by Alex Hales at long off. So we were hoping that Mulder would hang around for 3 or 4 more overs. Every Leicestershire fan certainly was hoping, and his head is down in dismay. He sliced that one horribly, and Hales got underneath it and never really looked like dropping it into Cartwright, although you could almost see the spin on the ball as it went down into his hand. Made no mistake. 87 for 5.
Big droop of the head from Mulder, because he knew he'd done well. He'd seen himself in. Difficult. It's a completely different format of the game, completely different setting as well, with the Foxes in trouble, and he's pushed them up to getting towards something that's at least respectable. But it was notable in an interview with you, Richard, that he did after a county championship match where he said, I so often get to 30 and then I get out. And he's done it again, and I think you can see the disappointment in his face there. He's walking off, he's trudging off, because he knows that he got himself set and his wicket has disappeared.
43 runs off 35 balls, the partnership. Needed to be bigger. It was good, but it needed to be bigger.
Did we jinx it?
Probably. Harrison, 1 for 18 now, is in to bowl to Ben Mike, who is hit on the pads. An appeal from Calvin Harrison as the ball squirts down to Luke Fletcher at short third man, but not from Luke Moores, the wicket-keeper, notably. So dot ball. Mike conscious perhaps that there's still 6.4 overs left to be played. They have on a couple of occasions this season not used their 20 overs, the Foxes. In goes Harrison and bowls. Mike drives this time through the vacant mid-off area down towards Hales. Comes in to meet the ball about halfway towards the edge of the circle. Single taken, 88 for 5. So Rishi Patel now carries the responsibility for dragging the Foxes towards, well, I was going to say respectability, but they're going to have to go some to get to that stage. You never quite know. If there's plenty in the pitch, maybe they'll pick up early wickets of their own. Harrison is in. Patel is wristily clipping it away off the front foot out towards long on this occasion. Nice piece of timing from Patel, but travelled very quickly out to Mullaney, so just the single. He moves on to 19, 89 for 5. Harrison, quite a boyish figure, is in and bowls. Mike is also on, driving off the front foot. Again out towards long on. Again Mullaney feels. Again it is just 190 for 5. 1 ball to go in what has been a very good over from Calvin Harrison. 1 for 3 from it so far. Waits for the field to set. And he is in and bowls, and clipped again by Patel out towards Mullaney. Comes to him quickly, so again it will be just the 191 for 5 at the end of Harrison's over, his third. 4 runs from it, and more importantly perhaps the wicket, the potentially key wicket of Vian Mulder, Leicestershire's South African all-rounder, who's going very nicely. Unfortunately, having got to 32, he skied Harrison's first delivery in that over to Hales at long off. 91 for 5 after 14.
And the acceleration that's needed just isn't happening. Mulder and Patel set the platform perhaps for that to happen. Still, they need another 60 runs. They need 10 and over off these final few overs. New change of bowling. It'll be Dane Patterson from the pavilion end. And there's a ball that doesn't bounce on leg stump. They're going to run through for 2 as it's clipped out on the leg side and fielded by Patel, running in from deep mid-wicket. 93 for 5. Patel onto 22. These two can hit a long ball, particularly Mike. We've already seen Patel hit a 6. He is on 22 from 19.
Famously hit a 6 off the last ball of the match against Yorkshire a couple of years ago on this ground to win it.
Patterson away from us now. He bowls. Oh, and it's hit uppishly in the air, but it's safe. There's nobody on the infield on the leg side. Just a single. Timed pretty well, even though it wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing of strokes. Patel onto 23. 94 for 5. The run rate at the moment, about 6.5.
6.6, yeah.
Patterson, it's not the tallest of figures, quite stocky. Just has a look at his field. I'm not going to make any changes, no. In fact, it was Mike who was doing more of the looking, but now he's set up to face Patterson. He's in and bowls, and that's driven on the leg side to deep mid-wicket again, single. And 14.3 overs have gone. And we still haven't seen many bounces. Let me just see how many bounces we've had in this innings. It will not be many. We've had 3 6s and we've had 5 4s. Those 3 6s all coming from this end because of the wind. Patterson up to the wicket, he bowls. Oh, he's made room for himself, he's hit it high up in the air, it's going to land safely. It was properly cloth, that. Barely landed outside the ring, and he's lucky that there were no men on the infield. Patel moving across his stumps and trying on one knee to whip it around the corner. Didn't time it at all well. Another single, 96 for 5. Mike on 3, Patel on to 24. Mike got a first ball duck in the last match last night against Derbyshire. Patterson runs away from us up to the wicket, bowls a slower ball, it's hit uppishly again down the ground and off drive, and a single again. This just isn't happening for Leicestershire, is it? They're just, you know, you could say it's good bowling, and I think there has been some good bowling, particularly from the likes of Fletcher, Carter, Harrison as well, but Carter 2 for 22 off his 4 overs, but nobody's gone more than 9 and over. It's Harrison who has 2 sixes coming from his bowling. Patterson up to the wicket, he bowls. Patel makes room for himself, but it hits it straight to the fielder and punches his bat because they cannot get the ball away, the Leicestershire batters. 97 for 5, that run rate 6.5, and they have 5 overs to salvage a competitive score here, because otherwise Nottinghamshire, an on-form Nottinghamshire side, which to be fair they're not at the moment, they have only won 2 of their 6 games, would probably demolish them. It's still possible, and if Leicestershire bowl as well as Nottinghamshire, we still may have a game, but they need another 40, you would suggest, of the final 4 overs at the very least to give themselves something defendable.
Harrison is going to bowl out now from the Bennett end. Mike flexes his knees and then drives on the bounce out too long on. Nice swing of the bat, almost like a golf shot, a gentle golf shot, a fairway iron there from Ben Mike, and it bounced well short of long on. Just the one bounce into his hands out there. Mullaney, single taken. That's been the story of the recent bowling from Harrison. Reverse switch hit, if you like, from Patel on that occasion, reaching outside his what became his off stump. All he could do was hit it out to Christian in the covers, and he too takes one, moves on to 25, 99 for 5. Harrison in to Mike, who swings him out, and that one is going to be 4 because he's found the gap on the leg side between Patterson at deep backward square and Duckett at deep mid-wicket. Thumps into the advertising hoardings in front of the manual scoreboard. Ben Mike picks up 4 and takes the Foxes into 3 figures. They're 103 now for 5. Crowd delighted by that as Harrison, 3 balls left, comes in and bowls again to Ben Mike, tosses that one up, but foolish. Mike waits for it and plays it firmly, drives it out towards mid-wicket. Duckett comes in to field, 1 is taken. 104 for 5. Need a few more boundaries, I'm afraid, the Foxes. Only 4.2 overs now remain to them. Harrison is in. Mike is down the wicket, stumping chance. He saw him coming, speared it down the leg side, but Moores couldn't take the ball cleanly, so it is signalled wide. But that was a chance. It was a wide one. Moores, 2 hands out to it. He knew exactly what he was doing there, Calvin Harrison. Fortunately, Moores unable to gather, and the wide is signalled. Harrison is in. Mike is, beg your pardon, Patel this time is clipping it away out towards long on. Ristily picks up 1, moves on to 26, 106 for 5. Sun comes back out from one of the very rare clouds around the Uptonsteel County Ground this evening.
There's that vuvuzela.
Indeed. Harrison is in. Mike is swinging across the line and his leg before wicket. It did look fairly straight. It was fairly flat. The only question was, had it hit him outside the line? No, it didn't, says umpire Bailey. Raises the finger, sends Ben Mike on his way. So Calvin Harrison finishes his 4 overs, having taken 2 for 32, which is a pretty decent effort for the leg spinner. There was a little bit there for him, which will give the incoming Leicester batsman, Rehan Ahmed, a little bit of hope. But the Foxes' innings really is going nowhere at the moment. They're 106 for 6 after 16.
You're right to give him a little bit of hope as he makes his way out onto the ground, Rehan Ahmed, to bat, but he'll only give him a bit of hope if there's something to defend, and there isn't really at the moment. They need to find some runs from somewhere, they need to find some boundaries, Mike trying to up the pace, but we've seen so few boundaries on this ground tonight. It's not exactly been the exciting brand of cricket that is promised sometimes tonight. If you're coming down here for the first time, you might wonder what it's all about, but hopefully they will stick around, and hopefully Leicestershire can prove what it is all about, maybe when they bowl or however when they finish this innings. Patel will face from this near end, the pavilion end, and it'll be Fletcher, 2 for 14 off his 2 deliveries. Goodness me, he got those in 2 deliveries at the end of his first over. He's running away from us now. With bright sunshine here at Grace Road, he bowls and it's heaved over to the leg side. There's a fielder out there who will collect it on the bounce up at around hip height and will throw it in. Thumbs up from Fletcher to the fielder out there, who was Joe Clark. And there is a single added. Patel 27 off 25. Ahmed yet to score. He'll face his first delivery. Turns to the leg side, has a little bit of a look around. Fielders a deep backward square, mid-wicket, and long on the leg side. Fine leg is up as Fletcher comes in. He bowls, and that's glanced away into mid-wicket. They're going to look for 2, are they? Yes, they're going to run around quickly and go for it. The throw comes in, and he's out. He's run out. Well, it looked risky from the very start. Ahmed making the decision to go for it quickly. The run was good, or the throw was good, I should say. The run was bad. The throw was perfect, and the wicket keeping was solid too from Moores, who whipped the bails off, and another wicket falls. Leicestershire trying to force the issue, but they forced the wicket, and Ahmed goes for a single, and 107 for 7 is the score.
He having completed the first, he looked up and sort of looked to guidance for guidance from Rishi Patel, and he hesitated, and that was completely fatal.
Yeah.
And it was a good throw from Clark, and yeah, he was well out, I'm afraid.
Surely he got 1, didn't he, for completing as they came back for the second? He had none on the scoreboard. We shall see. Yeah, 108 for 7. Yeah, there you go. So to get the 1, this innings is falling apart. What they need 130. They need 130. If they're going to run a ball, what, 3.4 overs to go. 22 deliveries. As Fletcher bowls, beats him outside off stump. That's a beauty. Nice bit of pace and movement from Fletcher. Parkinson in at number 9. So run a ball, that 22 would get them, or 21 now, would get them to 129. That is surely nowhere near enough.
I've got a stat sheet somewhere. I'm just seeing what the lowest score, I should say, they've made against Nottinghamshire.
Yeah, that would be useful to see.
Well, this is fun, says Foxy Phil.
Well, it's a very fair point, to be honest with you. As Fletcher comes in, he bowls, and Parkinson defends, and out comes a big right paw from Fletcher to hit the ball into the ground, and there's no run. John Mallett always sends a lowest total by 90 all out. Is the lowest total for Leicestershire against Nottinghamshire.
Could have been worse.
But you know, there is an argument to be made here. This is the entertaining products, and a lot of people have come down tonight, and it's been good bowling, it's been good fielding, but Nottinghamshire have dominated as a slower ball is cut by Parkinson, who's off the mark. They'll just get a single. And there's 1 ball left in the over. How many runs have come off this, Richard? It can't be many.
3 off the over so far.
Do with a boundary now to give it some sort of respectability. Patel is huge in this innings. If he can get up to, say, 40, get Leicestershire up to 130, there was at least something to defend. What was that game at Trent Bridge where they got 139 and essentially defended it? Lost on, was it Countback they lost on? as Fletcher comes in. He's up to the wicket, he bowls, and that's let through by Patel. Is that going to be a no ball? No. Yes, it is. I was worried then. It was a delayed signal from both the square leg umpire and the umpire at the strike at the non-striker's end.
A bit unlucky that for Fletcher. I thought it was a really good slow bouncer.
I thought it as well, and I'm not sure. It's a very tight call. Patel left it, which was a big gamble, but it's paid off for him. It was probably given because he left it, in all honesty. Fletcher then runs away from us. He's up to the wicket now. He bowls, and that's flicked away on the leg side. That should just be a single down to long on, and that's the end of the over. Oh no, we've still got another one because of the wide, haven't we? No, that is the end of the over. 112 for 7, 3 overs left, 18 balls to go. That would get them 130 if they went to run a ball. They need to do a little bit better than that, I'm afraid. The Foxes, 112 for 7. You're listening to BBC Radio Leicester. Adam Whitty, Richard Ray here, under gorgeous sunny skies. A lovely evening in June here in Leicester. But the Foxes under a huge amount of pressure. This has been a very, very difficult evening for them so far.
Rishi Patel, 28 off 27. Samit Patel comes in and bowls to him. He tries to swing it away. Did he get a top edge? It's running down to fine third man for 4. Either way, leg buys. He didn't get a top edge to it. It came off the top of the pad, and Foxes don't mind how they come. Move on to 116 for 7. A little bit of fortune on that occasion. Patel, none for 21 from his 3.1 overs, is in. Patel is bowled, attempting a reverse sweep, misses it completely, off stump, is out of the ground. Another wicket falls, 116 for 8. Rishi Patel made a useful score, but no more than that, I'm afraid. 26, was it? He made in the end 28 off 28 balls, and well, it dragged the innings into 3 figures, but not much more than that.
He was the last hope of getting up towards, you would think, 130, 140. Patel, now the tail, have just got to see out the innings, really, get as many as they can. This is really disappointing from Leicester. We've got to hope that the pitch is a really sort of stultifying one, that where it's so hard to get the ball away, that if you bowl properly, then you can completely stop the opposition. But you can't think it is a 125 pitch, can you, Richard?
No, there's a little bit there for Leicestershire, but if it's only going to take one of the Notts batters really to get going. And they haven't really so far this season, except on fairly rare occasions, but even so, it's hard to see them not chasing down a score of around about 130. Samit Patel, 1 for 21 now, will be bowling to Naveen Ul Haq. What will the Afghan make of him? He goes in and bowls. Naveen just works it away towards mid-wicket. There should be 2. Parkinson calls for the second. In comes Duckett. Good throw from him, but it was just slightly wide, although Patel took it two-handed, about 2 or 3 feet away from the stumps, and Parkinson got back. In goes Patel, bowls, and almost sneaks one through Naveen Ul Haq, who sort of is waiting for it and just brings his bat down on it in the very last moment, almost at his feet. 118 for 8. Patel is in and tosses it up, and Naveen is looking to push it into the gap at mid-off, doesn't time it, and Samit Patel can bounce across to his left to make the stop. Had he not done so, Christian was covering behind him. Patel to finish his spell is in. Down the wicket goes Naveen, turns his wrist on it, pushes it out to Mullaney at long on, takes 119 for 8 at the end of the 18th over, so 7 runs from it. Naveen has 3, Parkinson 1, Patel finishes with 1 for 24 from his 4 overs.
So from the 12 balls that remain, 132 would be the absolute minimum you'd think to go to run a ball. 140 would be very nice indeed, but you're asking the tail enders to do a lot. in order to do that with just 2 wickets in hand. Run rate at 6.6. Quite a quiet, still atmosphere at Grace Road. As the final 2 overs begin, it'll be Dane Patterson to bowl from this near end. He's up to the wicket, he bowls, and it's defended by Naveen. He came down the track, and Patterson saw him coming, banged it into the pitch, and Ul Haq could only palm it back to him.
It's a big ask of the bowlers, isn't it?
Yeah.
Parkinson and Naveen and Davis to come.
Patterson 2 overs for 8. He's in now. The scoop comes. He's hit. No, he's going to get 4 for that. Great shot from Naveen. It was choreographed, but he did very well to adjust himself to get the ball up over the top of his head, over the wicket keeper. It wasn't perfectly timed, but he got enough on it, as you often do with a scoop. If you get anything on it, it's often going away for the boundary. So 4 runs added to the total. That's woken everybody up a bit. 123 for 8. Naveen onto 7. As Patterson turns round, that's the first boundary he's conceded. He's up. The attempted scoop is attempted again, and his middle stump is out of the ground. And Patterson just turns and walks back immediately with a bit of a sign of dismissal, quite frankly, in his body language. And he has dismissed Naveen. And that's a pretty ugly sight out there on the field with the middle stump out of the ground. Naveen on his way for 7, and the Foxes 123 for 9.
Yeah, pretty ugly sight on the scoreboard as well, isn't it? One way or another. Out comes Will Davis. Parkinson says, well, look, we've got, 9 deliveries left. We've got to try and get 8 or 10 runs somehow, give ourselves something of a chance, but 123 for 9 been another very disappointing day so far for the Foxes. Will Davis comes out at number 11.
This is just about seeing out the rest of the balls, I would think. Patterson comes in, bowls in first ball, and that is the end of the innings, and that is a horrible innings for Leicestershire. They came into this game saying, well, we need to win this game, and they've lost wickets at regular intervals throughout it. They haven't scored at a decent rate, and they have been bowled out for a very low total indeed, 123 all out, and Davis was nowhere near that Yorker from Patterson. Thumbs up the whole innings from the Foxes. They have been dismissed for a very, very low total indeed, and their place in the T20 blast hangs in the balance, I think. To rattle these off quickly, that could be that. They are in deep trouble in this match. 123 all out. The Notts Outlaws will require 124 to win here.
Yeah, 18.3 overs as well, so 9 balls left. They couldn't even bat out the 20 overs again. If Notts don't win this, then they will be kicking themselves all the way back up the M1 to Nottingham. You never quite know, but the problem for the Foxes has been the batting almost all the way through. Vian Mulder did well on his first appearance of the season with 32. Managed to hit a couple of big sixes, use the wind, but it's hard to believe it's going to be even close to enough. Anyone else in double figures? Ackerman got to 13. Steele 12 off 21 balls. Patel 24 off, beg pardon, 28 off 28, but otherwise, afraid not.
It was that Mulder and Patel partnership that held the key, and it was very, very disappointing indeed. Some of those bowling figures: Fletcher 2 for 20 off 3, Patterson got 2 for 12 off 2.4, Patel 1 for 24, Carter 2 for 22, Christian 1 for 12, Harrison 1 for 27. Tough stuff for Leicestershire. They are really up against it, and this is going to be a really tough ask. If the Foxes are going to remain in the T20 Blast, we heard that they needed to win this game. That looks unlikely. Chris?
A little ugly, that, wasn't it? And never really got going, Richard.
No, indeed. they struggled from the start, really. We can only hope that, as they always say, never judge a pitch until both sides have batted on it. We can only hope there's a rather more in it than there may have appeared, but didn't look to be doing too much, really. Paul Nixon said beforehand he thought it was quite a good wicket, and he was talking in terms of 170, 180. Well, they're 60 short of that, and that's a huge amount in T20 terms.
There might just be a little bit in it for the bowlers, at least. There might be that extra yard or two in pace, just to, if nothing else, just to get the frustration.
I'm not sure there's that much in it, Chris. I think
No,
you're probably right. No. I know you weren't saying it. I was being flippant. There is something in that pitch clearly, certainly that works for the slower bowlers. We saw a bit of pace and bounce. We saw some movement from the bowlers. But it wasn't a 123 all-out pitch, that's for certain. Leicestershire just didn't find a way to up the ante. They didn't find a way to score runs quickly. They kept hitting the bat, they kept hitting the fielders, and it was a pretty dismal effort, really, if I'm being honest. They needed more than that. They needed only Mulder showed the signs of positivity and aggression that would be required for them to post a decent total, and just going at above a run a ball, not seeing out the 20 overs is really disappointing, unfortunately.
Gentlemen, for now, thank you very much indeed. Let me just give you the updates from the other games in the North Group. Derbyshire up at Worcestershire tonight. Derbyshire 168 for 7. Halfway stage of the Worcestershire reply. They started earlier in that one than we did here at 7 o'clock. Worcestershire 80 for 3 after 10 overs. 89 wanted after 88 wanted off 59 balls now. Looking a very interesting finish there potentially. At Edgbaston, there is someone worse off than Leicestershire tonight. This is some scoreline from Edgbaston. Yorkshire at the Birmingham Bears. Birmingham Bears 101 all out after 16.5 overs. Now there's a story there, I suspect. Let's look into that more, shall we? David Willey 3 for 17. Drake's 2 for 18. Only 3 batsmen in the Birmingham innings got into double figures. 3 for Willey, 2 for Drakes, 1 for Reeves, 1 for Leach, and 2 for Adil Rashid. That's some score, and that doesn't help Leicestershire at all. That does it with Yorkshire being in 4th spot at the start of proceedings tonight. So that's events at Edgbaston, and there is one other game taking place tonight. Now this is a turn-up. 1 ball left of the 20 overs for Lancashire up against Durham at Chestler Street. Lancashire the leaders in the North Group. Well, they've made a bit of a hash of things there. They're 130 all out after 20 overs. Amazing scoreline, that one. Stephen Croft 55, Phil Salt 23. Great catch, Wian. Keeping me well protected. I'll get out of your way now, shall I? Just 2 Lancashire batsmen in double figures. 3 wickets for Andrew Tye, 3 wickets for Nathan Soughton, 2 for the former Leicestershire all-rounder Ben Rain. You're up to date then on what's happening in the North Group here on the T20. It's BBC Radio Leicester live from the Uptonsteel County Ground. Not a great night so far for Leicestershire. 123 all out in their innings. Nottinghamshire, their big rivals, 124 for them to win. We will build up to tomorrow's Premiership semi-final between Leicester Tigers and Northampton Saints in due course. But why don't we mark one of Leicestershire's most successful head coaches in all sport? That is, of course, Rob Paternostro. 14 years at the helm of Leicester Riders. Another championship secured this season, of course, as well. And players from across the game will be competing in a testimonial game in honour of the head coach tomorrow night. Riders fans getting an opportunity to see legends from past eras. Here is a man who's won everything several times. And, of course, this time around last season, Riders had one of their best campaigns of the lot. I think we all needed a break.
It's true.
We've got a recorder going. Because we've got about 3 minutes on this, haven't we? And we just started it, we can't really pot it. Might just be a couple of quick questions to Nico and that'll be it. No worries. I don't think he wants to talk, but we'll see. Paul. Sorry, mate. I know this is the last thing you want to do right now. Paul, 123 in the end. Not enough, obviously, but what did you think was par there, having seen the 20 over?
Par score on that pitch, belting wicket, I would say is about 183 or 184, 185.
I can hear the frustration.
Yeah, bitterly disappointed, absolutely raging. But yeah, it's about options. This game is about clever thinking and options, and we haven't shown any of that tonight. I felt a bit for Vian Mulder, who played beautifully, tried to get us to a score, got a third shot and got out, going big. Way too many poor options again to spin, like too many dots. Can't put my finger on it. It's very frustrating. There's going to be some home truths tonight.
Chance for a bowler to make a name for themselves.
There is 100%, and we have to box that off. We have to be brave. They're going to come hard. Notts are going to try and win this in 13 overs, 12 overs. They're going to come super hard. We can get them 3-4 down in a power play. Who knows? There's a hold in the wicket. Andy, our groundsman, did exactly what we needed. He took a bit more grass off. It's his holding. The leg spinner got it to hold. Harris, Samet, a little bit of hold. So who knows? We've got the options to do it. We need a bit of luck. We need to start well. We've got to take early power play wickets to get anywhere close.
Paul, as ever, mate, thank you very much indeed.
Good strong stuff.
Should be a good night tomorrow at the Morningside Arena. You might want to pop in there if you're going to Welford Road, perhaps, for the semi-final. We'll preview that after events here at the Uptonsteel County Ground. Let's just get the thoughts of Paul Nixon. I spoke to him just a moment or two ago. That's one hell of a turnaround, that, mate. One hell of a turnaround.
Outstanding production work there.
Rich, I'm coming to you off the back of this, because that was as strong as I've heard him.
I hear it quite often.
I'm sure. We can play all this all the way through, mate. No. That is Paul Nixon and Richard Ray. Not a happy man.
No, and you can't blame him either. In the end, the batsmen have to look at themselves and say, why did we play X shot at such a time? Why aren't we, playing to our abilities? Because they're not at the moment, and you just can't, against a side with the quality of Notts, produce a performance and a total like that, especially in front of your own supporters, and expect every coach and the head coach to be happy about it. He's certainly not going to be. Remember, there's quite a few of these players playing for contracts as well at the end of this season, and there's quite a few of them, at the moment, they're not going to be justifying it, and I think at the end of this season there could be quite a big turnout of players, to be quite honest, a big turnaround.
Well, there are not many smiles in the dugout, I'll put it mildly. Let's see how they get on. Hales and Joe Clark, two very fine batsmen of international pedigree. One used to be in the setup, one isn't, for very different reasons. They just need 124 for victory. Take it away, Richard.
And they are following the Leicestershire players out into the middle. Paul Nixon saying the bowlers are now going to have to be brave because the likes of Clark and Hales will try and, quote Nixon, win it within 12 or 13 overs. And they're perfectly capable of doing exactly that. It's going to be Joe Clark who's going to be on strike, and Leicestershire going straight to Naveen. No messing around with a Scott Steele over to start proceedings. I think that would be playing with fire in the most crazy of ways, wouldn't it, really?
I suppose what they've got to try to do is get early wickets.
It's the only way.
Put them under a huge amount of pressure early doors and see what they can do. But as you said, towards the end of the innings, Richard, they are going to have to basically, if one of these players turns up, that could be it.
Yep. And they're going to have to risk a defeat in 12 or 13 overs almost to try and bowl some wicket-taking deliveries. Naveen to start.
He will. The Afghanistan international will bowl from the pavilion end. And he runs away from us now. Up to the wicket he bowls, and that's down the leg side, and it's flicked away for 4 first ball. That is far from the start Leicestershire wanted. It was a bad ball and beautifully timed away down on the leg side. And the Notts Outlaws are off to a flyer, 4 for no loss. They've just had one ball of this innings.
Having bowled brilliantly at Worcester, he didn't bowl well last night, did he, at Derby? And he just seemed to have lost his radar at the wrong time, Naveen.
Well, he went to 13 and over, which, considering he had got 5 from 11 less than a week before that. Remarkable. Here he goes now. He bowls, and that's driven, and that finds the gap. That's 4. Well, Clark just pushing at that. It was a nice cover drive, and beats the man at cover, beats the man at mid-off, and rushes away to the boundary rope for 4 runs. This is a horrible, horrible start for the Foxes, and Leicestershire and Nottinghamshire rather 8 for no loss. Clark on to 8 from 2, and they found the gap immediately and seem to be finding the pitch a lot easier than the Leicestershire batters.
Well, Nixon, you were just out of the commentary box when Chris spoke to Paul Nixon during the interval. He said par was 183, 184 on this track. He said there's not that much in it. He said there was a bit of grip for the spinners, no more than that.
Wouldn't want to be in that team talk at the end of the game. If Leicestershire don't win this, Naveen bowls, down the pitch he comes, there hits it straight to mid-off Ackerman Fields with a bit of a juggle and a bit of a fumble. They've got enough runs off the over already, haven't they? The required rate is at a run a ball as it stands.
He did say that there would be some, and I quote again, home truths spoken tonight.
It's interesting, really, that it was just, I don't know how many silly shots there were, not overly many. There were a few, but Naveen All-Hack runs in. He bowls on leg stump, and that's clipped away. There'll be at least 2 out there as deep square leg has to rush round, and Clark will move on to 10. It wasn't overtly sort of, you weren't watching it thinking people were chucking their wickets away. They just never got going. You
can go through them there, can't you? Sort of Hills was a poor choice of shot. Ackerman dancing down. Yeah. Steele, odd sort of shovel pulled straight to mid-wicket, didn't he? Never really got going at all.
It just felt like there was a problem with the whole performance. Nobody was able to find the gaps, get going at all. Naveen up to the wicket, bowls, and this is hit over the head for 4. Naveen had to take a bit of a diving stop. It's more about protection. He did put his hand up to try and take the catch, but it was past him before he even had a chance, and past mid-off it went for 4 runs. Clark is on to 14, and they are smashing Leicestershire around from the first over here, which gives you a sign you never quite know what the pitch is going to be like when you've seen one team bat on it. But this, from what we've seen already, just 5 balls, it looks good.
Horror show for the Foxes at the moment. Well, Joe Clark has broken his bat, it would appear, in hitting 3 of the first 4 balls for 4 and the other one for a couple. Naveen has his hands behind his back like a naughty schoolboy awaiting the headmaster.
I wonder how much those bats cost when they get taken off like that. How many each player has too?
I guess someone like Clark as many as he wants, really.
Yeah. Well, he's 14 not out of 5 deliveries. Naveen runs in, he bowls, and this is hit into the ground. An ugly swipe. He was aiming to get it through the covers or through the offside to the boundary rope, and that's as bad a start as you can imagine to a defence of 123. It was a low total, but Nottinghamshire have started off at a rapid pace. They are chasing 124 to win. They're 14 for no loss. They need 110 from 114 balls. They're already under a run of ball.
Yes. Well, Callum Parkinson has had a lot of success against Alex Hales in the past, and who knows, might just have it again and lift everyone's spirits here at the Uptonsteel County Ground. Some brave chants going on, but to no avail at the moment. Parkinson is in from the Bennett end, bowls to Hales, who drives in for 4 through the covers. He didn't try and go huge straight away. Parkinson did give him a little bit of width, and it was over pitched, and the tall Hales stepped forward and just calmly drove it away through the covers for 4, 18 without loss after just 7 deliveries. This is awful. Parkinson is in and bowls. Hales is down the wicket, smashing him over, long off for 6, dropped in the crowd. Gentlemen about 5 rows back in front of the Turner Centre. It was a fairly straightforward catch, sir. You put it down, got both hands to it. You didn't have to move a muscle. 24 without loss off 8 balls. Well, Paul Nixon said they'd go for it in 12 or 13 overs, as Parkinson is in to Hales, who's pushing it out towards extra cover, and there's an ironic cheer for a dot ball. 24 without loss after 9 balls. Hales waits. Parkinson is in, bowls to him, he pulls him for 4. There's a signal from Colin Ackerman, a raise of the right hand, but no chance at all for Aaron Lilly as it ran actually sort of straightish mid-wicket. Lilly down on the deep mid-wicket boundary. 28 without loss. Well, the pitch probably can now be judged, and it looks pretty darn good.
It looks pretty darn good. It just makes the whole thing worse.
Parkinson bowls. Hales steps back. He's followed by Parkinson. He turns it out towards square leg, takes a few steps down the wicket, is sent back by Clark. Patel's throw to Hill is a decent one. Dot ball, 28 without loss. 1 ball to go in the over. Parkinson is in. Hales is down the wicket. He's jammed straight back down the pitch to him, hard down into the ground. Parkinson makes a stop, two-handed to his right. End of the second over, and like the first, it yielded 14. Hales has 14 off 6. Clark has 14 off 6. 28 without loss. The target is already less than 100.
As the Spice Girls slightly melancholically is played out over the tannoy. Judging the mood quite rightly, playing this sort of ballad. I mean, what they are, a quarter of the way there already. Off 2 overs. This is a really tough night for Leicestershire. You are listening to BBC Radio Leicester's coverage of Leicestershire against Derbyshire in the T20 Blast. This is so often such a great rivalry, sort of David and Goliath style rivalry, where David has a real chance and often punches above his weight, but on this occasion it's looking like
he's getting battered by Goliath.
Yeah. He's forgotten his slingshot. Mike runs away from us now. He bowls on leg stump, and it's clipped away into the leg side. A single will be taken. You just noticed from the way that the two batters are playing, Hales and Clark, that they're not rushing through. They're not looking for the quick twos. They don't need to. They've got off to the fly that they needed to. Have they already? What did Leicestershire get? 31 off the power play. I think it was
31 for 3.
31 for 3. You know, they're going to be there. Well, the way things are going, before we're halfway through the 3rd over. Yeah. So the 2 men out, there's a fielder. Naveen is sent out to deep point as deep mid-wicket comes in. Outside off stump, perhaps, is where this ball is going to be bowled as Mike runs in now. He's up to the wicket, he bowls, and that's hit down the ground, and that's going to be 4 runs to Alex Hales. It was not perfectly timed, but he got enough on it, and Hales is a big man, an experienced man, and he got it away for 4 runs quite comfortably, and there we go. Took 2.2 overs to better Leicestershire's power play score after 6, so they now are 33 for no loss, and this game is going to be over in quick time. It's just gone 8 o'clock. It could be over by 8:30. We're supposed to be done by what, about 9:30, aren't we? So Mike sends Naveen, he's told to come in. He trots in from what would be a deep square leg boundary to it would be a point boundary to the right-handed Hales. As Mike comes in, he's up to the wicket. Hales makes room for himself and doesn't hit this well at all, but he's got 4 for it. It came off the bottom of the bat, almost may have come off the gloves. It was right at the top of the bat. Either way, he's found the gap, found the timing, and Nottinghamshire are bulldozing their way to victory. They are battering their way through. 37 for no loss, and we are into the 3rd over. And this is, I sound like a broken record, Richard, you must be sick of it, as I'm sure the listeners are too, but this is what Leicestershire are missing. They don't have 2 players capable of coming out and smacking it to all quarters. They don't have that. Nobody can get them off to a flyer like this. Hales faces as he bowls to him, and that's going to be at least 6, and it's 6 as it smashes into the scoreboard straight as a dart down the ground. It was tossed up, a full delivery from Mike, and Hales just moved that left leg out of the way and launched it down the ground for 6. It's taken a chunk out of the scoreboard, much as Tim David did for Lancashire on Tuesday night. And this is insult added to injury. 43 for no loss is the score. Hales on for 28. We've still got 2 overs left of this delivery. Paul Nixon is going to be raging. Mike comes in, he bowls short, and it's pulled around the corner for 4. And it goes behind square on the leg side. Hales is on to 32. And this is shocking. In sort of every sense of the word, it is a shock to watch this.
It's humiliating, isn't it, really? Embarrassing.
Even I have to say, maybe I was naive, I don't know. I didn't see this kind of response. Maybe I thought the pitch would play up a little bit more, but I didn't see Nottinghamshire being able to smack it away as comfortably as they have done. 50's nearly up inside 3 overs. It wouldn't surprise you if it is. Mike twirls the ball in his hand now, and he runs away from us. He's up to the wicket. Hales makes room for himself, heaves this high up in the air. That is a massive 6. That is huge. That is almost out of the ground. It was almost over the pavilion.
It is.
It is out of the ground, is it? Goodness me, that was a ginormous 6. It's cleared the roof of the pavilion, and that is a monstrous hit from Alex Hales, and he is on to 38, 53 for no loss.
On comes the new ball case. That one is in the factories behind us somewhere, or perhaps bouncing down Grace Road. Goodness me, that was
25
monstrous.
off the over, Richard.
Well, it can happen with Ben sometimes, can't it? Whether he lost his head, but banging it in short to Hales is on a good pitch with your field all up is kind of asking for it a little bit, and it got everything it asked for. 53 off 3 overs. They're going to win this within 10 overs if this continues.
Yeah. 4-4, 6-4-6 that over. Goodness me. This will be, if Nottinghamshire get this over and done with within 7, 8, 9 overs, I think this will be one of the toughest nights in their T20 history. As an individual night.
Leanne Mulder is going to have a go from the Bennett end. He comes in and bowls to Joe Clark, who attempts to ramp him over wicketkeeper Lewis Sillett outside off stump. He doesn't get anything on it. It is a dot ball.
If you're the bowler now, you're going, oh, do you want to bowl? A bit tight, actually, a bit tight. Nah, you're all right.
Mulder's men out are at mid-wicket and square leg. There's a few hands on hips out there. Parkinson looks distraught, really, at short third man. In goes Mulder and bowls to Clark, who can only work it out towards mid-on. where Ackerman runs to his right to field, and it is a single. We had any singles so far? I'm not sure we have, but we've got one now. 54 without loss after 3.2. We've just had the ball going over the ropes. If they hit more boundaries in the first 3 overs than Leicestershire managed in their entire
so. Let me go and check that. So
innings stab, it's okay, and probably in that over. But, 54 without loss, 70 to win. Mulder is in to Hales, who gets a ball outside off stump that he just stands there and as easily as you like just dabs it wide of the short third man down to the wide third man boundary for 4. As deliberate and as easy as you can possibly imagine. That was you know, a grown-up at a schoolboy game, wasn't it? It was just, if I was the bowler, I would be very embarrassed indeed.
In answer to your question, Richard, before that ball even, they had scored more boundaries than Leicestershire managed in their entire innings.
Mulder in again to Hales, who smashes him over mid-off. I don't think the fielder's going to get there. It bounces short of the boundary, and it is thrown in. Hales picks up 2. Did sky it rather, and although who's out there at mid-off? Is it Steele? Turned and chased after the ball. He couldn't get underneath it. He was a good way short of it as he chased it back towards the Bennett end. 2 taken. Hales on to 44 off 13 balls. 1 blow for his 50 as Mulder is in. Bowls to him, swing and a miss, and it misses the off stump by a coat of paint. And Hales has put his back out trying to loft that one over the Turner indoor centre. 60 without loss remains the score. 44 off 14. I don't know what the record might be for a 50. In this competition,
12
Hales,
balls.
12, so he's going to miss out on that one, indeed. Mulder into Hales, onto his legs. He stands there and it hits the left leg, hurts him a little bit, and he's limping now as it trickles to Naveen at a short, fine leg. In fact, Mulder came back reasonably well in that over, just 7 from it, which in the context of the previous 3 overs is a positive triumph for Leicestershire, not 60 without loss after 4.
So the Notts Outlaws, chasing 124 to win, are 60 for no loss. They need 64 in 97 balls. They're pretty much halfway there already after 4 overs. Who's going to bowl this new over? It's going to be Naveen. Getting value for money, I suppose. Also getting to bowl his overs. Tough day for England today in the Test match. New Zealand closing on day 1, 318 for 4. Bring you up to date with some of the other scores in the North Group 2. Loads of games this evening. I think there's 8 matches. Only 2 teams not playing as Naveen runs away from us. To start the 5th over, he's up to the wicket, he bowls. Oh, and that's hit. Well, I thought that might have been edged for a second. Bit of movement perhaps from Naveen, just away from the bat. And it was heaved, or attempted heave by Clark, completely missed, and there is no run. A blessed relief of a dot ball. 60 for no loss. I'm just going to try and see how many dot balls we've had in this innings. We've had, what, 8. As Naveen moves a few steps forward, then comes back before starting his run up in earnest. Kicks up his heels now, he bowls, and that's hit high up in the air. That's 6 runs. It's beautifully timed. The bat almost, it was just a push from Clark. He just pushed his bat up, arched it straight as you like, and it was beautifully timed over the scoreboard for 6, with Steele just watching it at the long on boundary sail over his head. And that's another 6, and they're rocketing to victory, the Outlaws, and are closing in on an absolute humiliation. 66 for no loss. Clark on 22 off 11. Hales 44 off 15. Real dejected look about Leicestershire out there. As they run in now, they bowl, and that's driven straight to mid-off. well timed. But this is what I mean, Richard. You might have seen in another T20 innings, you might have seen them rush through for the single there, but they don't need to. No, there's no need for the tip and run stuff. There's no need for the risk-taking singles. If they hit it to the field, they'll just stay still. Run rate, the required run rate is down to 3.7.
Current run rate 14.7.
66 for no loss. Clark 22, Hales 44. That's Naveen bowls, and it's heaved out into the leg side. That should be caught. Brilliant catch! Brilliant catch from Lilly, who raced round to his left, and Clark, with a bit of a mow over towards the leg side, was able to grab it over his head. Clark has to depart and the first wicket falls, and the Leicestershire crowd somewhat semi-ironically enjoying it, but they have got their first wicket of the match, and there was a bit of defiance about that from the Foxes. 66 for 1, Nottinghamshire. Clark gone for 22.
As you say, a really good catch running away to his left, two-handed above his head from Aaron Lilly. He looked like he'd got most of that. Joe Clark didn't quite get enough. They won't change this. The wicket won't change their approach, I suspect. Ben Duckett will also go hard from the start, and Hales only knows one way to play, but that's something for the Foxes to cling on to. 66 for 158 to win.
Yeah, it was a good catch. You probably hear in my commentary, I thought that it was quite a comfortable 6. It's a big boundary out there, but it looked like it was racing away for another 6. But Lilly did well, didn't quite get as much on it as I thought. Comebacks on.
15th wicket of the competition for Naveen.
He does do that. He does get you wickets. The issue is they've already conceded 6 off the over. Ben Duckett, my guess is that Ben Duckett is not a small man, but compared to Alex Hales, he looks pretty tiny out there. That's the thing with athletes, even the small ones are about 6'1". Naveen runs away from us now. He bowls to the left-handed Duckett, who pulls this round the corner. This will go to deep backward point. And it's thrown in right-handed, single-handed.
5'9".
Oh, 5'9". Not the tallest in that case. Fans in good voice. There's been a sort of gallows humour style to this among the Leicestershire crowd. They've been determined to enjoy themselves. They would have hoped for better tonight. Nottinghamshire coasting to victory at the moment as Naveen runs in. Hales makes room for himself, launches this up in the air. He should be caught, and is by Ackerman. And Hales loses his bat in the process. 2 wickets in the over. Hales almost preempting the shot before he played it. Ackerman catching it after Naveen bowled it straight into the slot. And that's the 2nd wicket of the over. And you would think that Nottinghamshire have already done the damage, but the Foxes coming back into it a little bit. 67 for 2, Hales gone for a pretty brutal 44 off 16.
As you say, an awful lot of damage done by Hales. And they are, as I say, they were always going to keep playing the same way, and didn't quite manage to clear Ackerman. 2 decent catches by the Foxes fielders. Lilly's certainly the better, but Ackerman, he also was reaching above his head, two-handed, a clean pickup by him. So 67 for 2. Well, they needed early wickets, and I suppose they've got early wickets in the power play. You know, 2 in the power play with an over to go, but unfortunately they conceded 67 runs in that time. Mulder, who bowled a decent first over from the Bennett end, will continue. He's going to go around the wicket to Ben Duckett. Final over of the power play. Samit Patel has come out to join Ben Duckett. An awful lot of experience there. Round the wicket comes Mulder, bowls to Duckett, who is blocking the delivery, the foolish delivery off stump out to Ben Mike, who's at extra cover, and there is no run. Leicestershire's supporters in full voice, still, well, I was going to say still believing, but well, still encouraging their side. I'm not sure whether they entirely believe the game can turn on its head, but who knows if it suddenly becomes 80 for 5. Stranger things have happened. Mulder is in. Duckett gets a delivery outside off stump that he tries to chop away through the offside. Gets a thick bottom edge, but it bounces slightly wide of Rahan Ahmed at point. So Duckett can take 1. He moves on to 2 from 3, 68 for 2. Samit Patel will just look to work it around. Just 56 needed from 14.4 overs at 3.8 runs per over. Should be very comfortable indeed. Patel looks around him, sees the men out at square leg. And as in comes Mulder, bowls to him. It is the man at deep square, Naveen, who's going to have to come in and field. And one is taken, and at backward point is the other man out. Aaron Lilly out there, single taken. Just turn down our effects, Mike, as the chants of "We Are Leicester." I don't know whether the Nottinghamshire supporters are here. There we go. It's an echoing football chant. Not the most tuneful we've ever heard. Round the wicket comes Mulder to the left-handed Ben Duckett. Bowls slightly short, Duckett up on his toes. Beautiful late-ish cut down through wide, third man for 4. Beautiful piece of time. Classy shot, really, from Duckett. Mulder not quite quick enough to really trouble batsmen of Duckett's class with deliveries of that kind that give him a little bit of width and a little bit of bounce. Late 70s probably, Vian Mulder. And it sat up nicely and Duckett put it away beautifully. Proper cricket shot, 73 for 2. He moves on to 6.
They managed 8 balls then, Richard, without a boundary. Leicestershire.
Mulder stays round the wicket to Duckett. Again it's short, this time it's pulled out to square leg, and Lilly, despite his speed over the ground, cannot get there. It crashes into the advertising hoardings in front of the Leicestershire spectators, very close to some of the cheerleaders and the gymnastic troupe. Consecutive boundaries for Ben Duckett, so the charge, having faltered, picks up again. 77 for 2. Mulder in to finish his over. Bowls looking for the Yorker, but it's going to go for 4 as well because it's width, and reaching for it, Duckett manages to squeeze it away between Parkinson at short third man and backward point, and it runs down to the third man boundary for 4. So 3 consecutive boundaries to Ben Duckett. 81 for 2 at the end of the power play. And Leicestershire at this stage, well, let's not do comparisons.
This is a really tough night for Leicestershire. A required run rate at 3.1. They are going at 13.5. Nottinghamshire in pursuit of 124. They need 47 from 85. Ben Mike's going to bowl the 7th over, and he's not going to want to look at his figures when he gets home tonight, because they read at the moment 1 over, none for 25. He was biffed to all corners, 3 4s and 2 6s in his 1 over, and he starts his run up but gets a step wrong. Men on the boundary, behind square, fine leg, third man, deep square leg, as Mike bowls, and it's driven by Patel, not well timed at all, to mid-off. Colin Ackerman fields, spins the ball in his hands. They've missed Ackerman bowling. There's no sign of him.
So apparently not, no.
Being
an intercostal injury, so muscle in the ribs.
They've missed that option. Mike then holds the ball into his chest now. Now it's in his right hand as he runs in. He bowls, and it's driven down to mid-off. There is no run. 81 for 2. The score remains Patel 1 off 3. Duckett 14 off 6. You're joining us on the stream tonight. Good evening to you. If you're a Nottinghamshire fan, hope you've enjoyed the coverage. I'm sure you've enjoyed watching me and Richard squirm a bit. As Leicestershire, I've been under the pump from the very start. Mike, in he comes, he bowls a straight delivery. That's nice stuff from Mike, and Patel defends.
Don't tell me it's going to be a maiden now, something like that, just to complete the bizarre nature of this game.
Well, one thing that does give you hope is the noise of those supporters you can hear in our effects microphone. There's some seats just to our right here up in the commentary box, where some supporters are enjoying the evening sun. Got to try and get those beers in. The game's going to be over soon. Patel swipes at this outside off stump. That was an ugly delivery. And we've had 4 dot balls, have we, so far, for this over, Richard? So you're right, he might bowl an over. Get those figures down to 2 for 25. 12 and a half and over. Colin Ackerman gives Ben Mike a little bit of encouragement as Mike wanders forward. Colin Ackerman walking backwards, looking each other in the eye. Just a bit of a chat among where the fielders are. This man at deep point as well. As Mike bowls, drags it in, and that is another dot ball. On the verge of being bowling an over, Ben Mike. It was banged in, high delivery, but Patel wasn't expecting it. Got out the way, 81 for 2.
Can he bowl a maiden, follow an over for conceding 25 with a maiden? I don't think it will make any difference to the end result, but as I say, just bizarre.
Mike running away from us now. He's up to the wicket. He bowls, and he will get a maiden. He will get a maiden. So his first over goes for 25. His second over goes for none.
That is the first maiden Leicestershire have bowled in the T20 this season, I believe.
And it comes at an extraordinary time, with Nottinghamshire going at about 13 and over when when it started. Patel 1 from 7, Duckett 14 from 6. Mike 2 overs for 25. 2 overs for 25, and you've got a maiden in there. That is the end of the 7th over. 81 for 2, so Nottinghamshire still require 43, and they've got 70 balls left.
Extraordinary. Rehan Ahmed, the young leg spinner, 17-year-old leg spinner, is going to come on from the Bennett end, curiously. Nottingham born, Samit Patel Leicester born. But Rehan, well, Calvin Harrison managed to get one or two just to bite and turn a little bit earlier on in the evening. Perhaps Rehan Ahmed can do the same. Comes in and bowls to the left-handed Ben Duckett. Not going to do it with that one, which is a bit leg side. Duckett goes back and pulls it out to Will Davis, who comes in from the square leg boundary and fields. Didn't get it all. Duckett clossed it slightly. So just the single on that occasion. He moves on to 15, 82 for 2, 42 to win. Interesting to see what Patel makes of Ahmed. Got a little bit more cover, of course, now. Being out of the power play, mid-wicket is out, backward square is out, cover on the offside boundary as well. Patel goes back and wristily works a delivery that did turn slightly away from off stump out towards Naveen Ul-Haq, who dives across to his left at mid-wicket. 1 for 8 from Samit Patel. Ahmed is in, tosses it up, it's driven in the air, could be corner, it drops just short of Davis on that cover boundary. 1 is taken for few seconds. I thought Davis might be able to run in and get underneath that. Couldn't quite do that. Leicestershire didn't have their full allotment on the boundary. There isn't much point really. They're trying to take wickets obviously, but they do now have an extra man out on the offside. Ahmed is in to Duckett, who works it exactly where that man had been. Mulder sprints across to his right, picks up at about 3/4 of the way back at mid-wicket and throws. But comfortable 2 taken by Messrs Duckett and Patel. 85 for 2. The crowd is just quietened below us. I think they've been moved on. There were a few down there getting a little bit rowdy, perhaps. Ahmed is in, bowls. Duckett back on leg stump, tickling it around the corner out towards square leg and jogging 1. Hill, who's in pursuit. 4 Leicestershire players, including the wicketkeeper, closed on that ball around about the same time as it came towards umpire Peter Hartley at square leg. Always going to be 1 though, taken by Duckett. He moves on to 18, 86 for 2. This has been a relatively normal T20 standards. Ahmed is in. Patel is clipping it out towards wide Binon, taking on the throw. If the throw hits, he's gone. Brilliant backing up by Mulder, diving away to his left to stop the ball. Ackerman hurled it at the stumps like he meant it. he missed them, but as I say, Mulder managed to slow it down, diving away to his left end of the over. 87 for 2, 6 runs from it. Duckett has 18, Patel has 3. 87 for 2 means that the Outlaws need just another 37 to win from the 12 overs that remain.
It's a lovely evening in this part of Leicester. The shadows lengthening across the outfield, the floodlights on. The Leicestershire flags fluttering in the breeze across the outfield. There's a really healthy crowd. T-shirts on, sunglasses and caps around, suntan lotion heavily lathered on. We've got, it's just behind us, the sun setting off to the west. Gorgeous evening to watch cricket. It's a shame we won't get more of it. Leicestershire bowled out in the 19th over, and the way that knots are going, I'll have this done after 12 or 13. Will Davis will begin his first over from the Bennett end, and he's flicked away for 4 runs. That's a hefty hit on the swivel from Patel, who rather pointlessly runs to the other end and dabs his bat down at the non-striker's end.
He's always done it. He's done it throughout his entire career. When he hits a boundary, he always runs and puts his bat down.
Well, it was a little bit too short from Davis, and he whipped it away for 4 runs. The cheerleaders out there on that boundary in front of the popular seats, practicing their handstands and their splits. And that was a brutal hit from Patel. He's on to 7 from 11, 91 for 2, so 33 needed as we enter the 9th over. Davis bowls, and that's cut, flashed away, and that could be 4 runs. Big chase on for Lilly. No, he's going to get there comfortably. Oh no, he's not. He's going to spill it. Is he going to pull it back in? Yes. It sort of hit his upper body, hit his feet, and spun back towards the boundary rope. He was able to stop it, but didn't stop. 2 runs. 93 for 2. 31 to win for the Outlaws. You're listening to BBC Radio Leicester. Adam Whitty, Richard Ray with you on DAB, on BBC Sounds, BBC Sport website and app, as we bring you live coverage of the Leicestershire Foxes against Notts Outlaws. Davis, who runs like a sprinter on his run in, he bowls and it's cut, driven away. This is going to be a chase for Lilly again. I think he might lose this one. The ball is going to win the race to cover, and that runs over the boundary for 4. That's a big gap out there. Naveen's quite close in at extra cover, and Lilly at deep point wasn't going to get that. That was a pretty tough chase for him. Difficult to watch because he always felt he was just going to miss out on it, and he did. 4 runs added to the total. 97 for 2. Patel on to 30. Yeah, Davis runs like a sprinter. He bends down and then raises his back. There he goes. As he runs in, he bowls, and that's driven down the ground from Patel. There's a fielder, Scott Steele, who collects it. It was bobbling and bouncing all the way to him. Shot up just as it came to him, so he took it about his rib height, but he formed the long barrier. Single added. Patel onto 14, going at a run of ball. Duckett 18 off 9. Hasn't seen a lot of the strike of late. So 26 needed. That'd be nice. What to get it to? I imagine it would be about the 12th over, Richard, don't you, that Notts will get this. As Davis turns. 11 off his over so far. He runs in now. He bowls to the left-handed Duckett, who plays a defensive shot to this. Couldn't time that properly. And there is no run. Duckett, well-known name, from England international, trying to get himself back into the Test team. Very positive start to the county championship campaign.
It's odd that he's not really being talked about, is he? And too much. I haven't really heard his name in connection with England this season too much.
Davis up to the wicket, bowls, and Duckett slashes this. He's going to get away with it. It's a horrible leading edge off into the offside. He was trying to whip it away on the leg, but he's going to get 2 for that. Yeah, he's talked about it, hasn't he? He's talking to Dave Bracegirdle.
Yeah.
He's sat the other side of the commentary box from us, talking about how he wanted to get back into the England team. That's been his target. He didn't have that bad a record. He just didn't. At that stage, a few years ago, I can't remember when his last test was. I'll look that up. His last test for England was in 2016. Goodness me.
Yeah, he had an awful time in India, didn't he?
Yeah.
The spinners rather struggled with the spinners.
He's 27 now, but
4
he got
tests.
4 tests, got a 50, just got the 150.
3 ODIs. Callum Parkinson is coming back on at the Bennett end, 100 up after 9 overs, just 24 needed. Parkinson in to Patel, who backs away and then just has to adjust as Parkinson follows him, and he cuts it down into the ground, but only as far as Rishi Patel at short third man, and there's no run. Parkinson jogs in, emerging from the shade. Down the wicket goes Patel, works it out towards mid-wickets, in the air for a long way, bounces only a 1.5 feet, 2 feet short of Naveen ul Haq at that short mid-wicket position. Dot ball. Parkinson in. Down the wicket goes Samit Patel. It's lofted. He should be caught by Steele at long off, and is caught. Again, he sliced across the ball rather there, and it went up very, very high, but not very, very far. And Callum Parkinson takes the congratulations. He's still got not a smile on his face, Callum Parkinson. He's hurting a little bit out there, but the Foxes at least have picked up a few wickets. The third, that is. Samit Patel goes for 14.
Just looking at the other scores here, Richard. There's been pretty low scores all round tonight. Birmingham Bears bowled out for 101. Lancashire all out for 130. Hampshire getting 134 for 4 from their 20 overs. Gloucestershire 145 for 6. There's been loads of very small totals tonight. Absolutely stunned. Leicestershire's is not the lowest. Never mind not being standalone. Interesting night. You would have thought it's perfect for a high-scoring night of cricket.
One very experienced player is replaced by another. Stephen Mullaney comes in as Samit Patel leaves us. Looks around him. He will look to work it around, I would anticipate, as well. Parkinson goes in. Bowls him. It is bowled him. It's gone straight to him. It turned. And the leg stump is leaning back. Parkinson has got 2 in 2. And this extraordinary match takes perhaps another small twist. From 100 for 2 after 9. Nottinghamshire are now 100 for 4 after 9.4.
Well, you never know, Richard. 23 to defend. I mean, you do know, but a couple more wickets in quick time, and this could get interesting. It could pile the pressure on, you never know. The game is all but lost, but it's good to see a little bit of fight. A beauty that from Parkinson, who's very proud of himself, and quite right too. A little bit of celebration, running off in his trademark way, not as vociferous as ever, but good to see him getting a second wicket. He's on a hat-trick. Dan
Christian is the man who's going to try and fend off that hat-trick. He takes guard from umpire Bailey. Leg stump, it looks like he's taken to me, and Ackerman, knowing that there's no real point defending, has brought in a slip on the basis that Parkinson is turning it away from the right-handers in theory, and he might just find the edge. Parkinson on a hat-trick, goes in and bowls. Christian defends, and 1 or 2 hands go up into the air, but the Australian got plenty of bat on that as he pushed the straight delivery out towards Naveen at mid-wicket. 100 for 4. Parkinson into Christian. That one is turning again, but from slightly short of a good length. Christian stays on the back foot and turns it out to mid-wicket. End of the over. And if I'm not mistaken, that was a double wicket maiden.
I think so.
So not having bowled, this game is just ridiculous, to be quite honest. Not having bowled a maiden throughout the entire T20 competition, getting flayed all around the park. Suddenly Leicestershire produced 2 maidens. Parkinson a double wicket maiden, and the scoreboard, if not respectable, is taken on a slightly more interesting tinge.
Well, they've got it down to 10 and over, Richard, which is something. The required rate is at 2.4 and over. Rian Ahmed will bowl from the pavilion end. His figures so far 1 for 6. Very handy over from him. He can do with another one. He comes in now, bowls, tosses this one up. That's going to down the leg side. That was swept, I think. It hit something from Duckett. And let's watch the umpire here. No signal, so it came off the bottom edge of the bat. I think Ahmed was probably quite lucky there. I think we've got wide otherwise. And conceding a single down the ground. Lewis Hill will be happy too that he got got some bat on it. The bye's going against the wicket keeper of sorts. That's certainly how they see it. As Christian, with his shirt tucked in, turns and has a look around. As Ahmed comes in, tosses this one up. He went for the big hit then at first, Christian, but then just toned it down and pushed it out into the offside, where there is a single taken. 102 for 4, so 22 needed to win. 9.4 overs to go. That's one of the best. Leicestershire gives those a good go. Most of the counties don't. Ahmed bowls, and dearie me, that was close. He moved right across his stumps, Duckett. He's going to get 4 for it. It's a very well executed shot in the end. He swept it, but right off his middle stump, he moved across it, planted his left foot forward, and got right over the top of the ball and whipped it away fine on the leg side. 4 runs to him. 106 for 4, and now it's under 20, the target required.
Yeah, brave shot. But he middled it beautifully.
Yeah.
Ackerman has a consoling arm around the shoulder of Rehan Ahmed, whose hands have started to go into the air there. He thought that one had got through.
Well, to be fair, it was good bowling.
Yeah.
It was the right ball to bowl for what he was doing. It was just a good shot. Duckett 25 not out, 106 for 4. Ahmed with the reverse sweep. Oh, it's hit him. There's an appeal for LBW, but it was too high. So half-hearted. It was
bit of turn.
Body before wicket. A little bit. So went for the reverse sweep. Nice stuff from Ahmed though. He's responding well and adapting to what the batsman's doing if they do move across their stumps. That was choreographed from Duckett. Ahmed up to the wicket now. Bowles tosses this one up. It's hit down the ground, and it should be 4 runs. 1 bounce and 4 crunches into the scoreboard. And Duckett moves on to 29. That was again a perfectly executed shot down to the pitch of the ball. Kept his head down, and it flew for 4 runs. 110 for 4. Just 13 needed to win this game now for Notts Outlaws. 14, I should say. Ahmed quickly back on it, tosses this one a bit swept and hits the pad. It must be going down the leg side. The orthodox leg spinner to the left-hander. And that is the end of the over, which saw 10 off it in the end. So 2 for 16 for Ahmed, 110 for 4. The Outlaws, they need 14 to win. We've had 11 overs. We're now getting to the stage where this could be over very shortly indeed.
Well, Callum Parkinson, having taken 2 for 14 from his 2 overs, including a double wicket maiden, will obviously continue from the Bennett end. Looks around him. Ackerman's kind of keeping his field in because there's not much point putting everybody back, to be honest. In goes Parkinson, and Bowles tosses it up to Christian, who works it out just wide of Vian Mulder in the covers. So it is going to be a single for the Notts skipper. He moves on to 2, 111 for 4, 13 to win. Duckett on strike, a left-hander, necessitates a change in the field. Mulder comes across into the covers again for the left-hander. They are giving him one on the leg side if he wants one. But Duckett has shown an inclination to keep going after the ball anyway, so it makes a bit more sense to have the men out on the leg side boundary. Parkinson is in, drops short, and is pulled out to deep mid-wicket for 4. It was a long hop from Callum Parkinson. Got that one wrong coming over the wicket. Sat up really nicely, and Duckett didn't miss out. He cracked it away, and if Notts were slightly nervous with those 2 wickets falling, Duckett has expunged any such nerves. He's moved on to 33 off just 17 balls. Parkinson is in. Bowls a quicker ball. Almost a caught and bowl chance. Parkinson fell across to his left. He seemed slightly slow to react there, Callum Parkinson. I think that was a chance, and Ackerman ran around behind to clean it up, but it looked like he just played it straight back down the pitch, and it was very close to him. Chipped it up, and I think he did get his left hand to it and couldn't quite scoop it up. Callum Parkinson, 115 for 4. Parkinson in again to Duckett. Bowles drops a bit short again, and he's pulled out towards wide mid wicket. Long on Steele, runs around, fumbles at the first attempt, grabs it quickly at the second and gets his throw away, and just one is taken. Duckett and Parkinson exchange words. One trusts of a reasonably jovial nature. Who knows? 116 for 4 brings Christian down on strike. Parkinson bowls. Christian is down the wicket, but ends up having to defend back down the wicket to Leicestershire's left arm spinner. 2 balls, 1 ball to go in the over. 2 balls to go in the over. He will toss it up, I'm sure, or look to toss it up, try and find a bit of turn, because Rishi Patel is there at slip. Parkinson is in, doesn't. It's a little bit flat. In fact, it was just 1 ball to go. The scoreboard had gone a little bit slow there. 116 for 4. 6 runs from the over from Callum Parkinson. Just 8 to win for the Outlaws. Paul Nixon, when he was talking to Chris Edgerton during the interval, said 12th or 13th over is what they would try to win it in. Well, it looks like he's not going to be far off.
Yeah, 2 boundaries will do it.
They will be...
People are making their way home already. They have seen enough to beat the traffic. 116 for 4, 8 to win. A required run rate is 1 and over. As Ahmed bowls, and that's swept round the corner. That'll just be a single to Duckett. 35 he moves on to. 117 for 4, 7 to win. Duckett's played nicely, I think. Could have. Felt like he was forced into playing more shots. Now, this is interesting. Now, Christian has just wandered over to the umpire and handed him something. Oh, it's more innocent than I thought at first. He looked a bit angry about something.
Spike or something come out of his boots, who knows?
There's something that shouldn't have been on the pitch that was. First I thought he was more vexed about it, but he's not. Ahmed, leg spinner, bowled, hit up in the air. This should be the wicket, and is caught at mid on. Ackerman running round to collect the ball. That was badly timed by Christian. He launched the ball down the ground, attempted pull, mistimed it completely, and it was caught. So a 5th wicket falls for Leicestershire. As for Nottinghamshire, I should say, and they still require 7 to win. With
what might have been, really. The Foxes will be surely thinking, had they got 160, 170, Notts might have played it differently, but the Notts batting lineup is slightly fragile in terms of confidence at the moment. They haven't been particularly consistent this season, and had Leicestershire been able to put them under a little bit more pressure, then they could quite easily have taken the game very, very deep. But with just 7 needed to win now, 5 wickets in hand, it should be all over as far as the Outlaws are concerned.
Good to make a bit of a dent in the Nottinghamshire batting lineup. But as you say, it's just, particularly after that start where they went off to a right old rollicking start. First wicket fell, Clark with them 66 for 1 off 4.4 overs. And at that point, by then, the game was already lost, as they already got halfway there in 4.5 overs. Now, there's a bit of a change of field. We've got a slip in for Ahmed as Moores comes in, the wicket keeper. And Ahmed will come in, getting his first wicket of this innings. He's up to the wicket, tosses this one up. It's driven. They send Moores sends the non-striker back. He sends Duckett back. He was interested in a run. It was sensible. It was Vian Mulder diving to his right. He tumbled as he took it, but there is no run. 7 to win still. As Ahmed comes in now, he bowls. Oh, and that's off the inside edge, off the body, and squirts away out into the leg side. Duckett calls him through for a run as it beats Mulder. The angle not quite right for him to be able to just dive on the ball, so he does that after a bit of a chase. Leg by given.
Bounce and turn though for Ahmed.
Yeah, there is something in this pitch.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just not 123 something in this pitch. Exactly. 6 to win. It's a nice jovial crowd tonight. You can be able to hear that in our effects microphone. They've got into this, even though it's been tricky. It's Ahmed Bowles, and it just goes over Lewis Hill's head. There was an outside edge off the top of the bat, and it almost the trajectory of the ball was almost about a foot away from Lewis Hill at all times. Just looped over his head. There was nobody there to catch it. And
now the slip comes in.
Yeah, now the slip comes in. They would have been able to snaffle that, and that would have been a 6-wicket to fall, as it was the single is taken. Moores faces as Ahmed Bowles, and that's a nice delivery. And that is the end of the over. No run coming off the final ball, so we've got to the end of the 13th over. 5 to win for Nottinghamshire. Leicestershire need 5 wickets to win.
It'd be fun to use this wicket for the championship game starting on Sunday, actually, because there'd be something in it for both batters and bowlers, and perhaps the wicket that they do use, which I think is 4 away to the right, maybe that will have a little bit in it as well. They'll play the spinner Ahmed. We shall see. 119 for 5, 5 to win. Callum Parkinson to finish off from the Bennett end, possibly in every respect. 1 for 18 from 3 for Rehan, 2 for 24 from 3 for Callum. Ackerman is still making sure that the field is a testing one. Duckett's 36 has been important. 36 off 21 balls for the left-hander. Without it, they might really have imploded the Notts lineup. So, field in as Parkinson over the wicket to Duckett, who's down the pitch and smashing it through very straight mid-on for 4. Well, he's not messing around. Hit it hard, danced down the wicket and hit it hard and very, very straight in the air, but well wide of Callum Parkinson. Crashes into the advertising hoardings. And that is 4, 123 for 5. The scores are level. Everybody then presumably comes in, with the exception of mid-wicket. Yeah, no, everyone is coming in to save 1. Saying to Duckett, see if you can hit it over the top again. Parkinson jogs in. Bowles. Duckett does hit it over the top, down to wide long leg for a 1 bounce 4, and that is the end of an extraordinary game of cricket. Notts win by 5 wickets, which doesn't sound too bad. In fact, it was a little bit of a thrashing. In fact, it was quite a lot of a thrashing. Leicestershire all out for 123 from 18.3. Notts reached their target and went past it, still with 6.4 overs left to go. In the context of 2020, that is a lot of overs. The bowlers did their very best, but they were given such a good start, Notts, by Messrs Joe Clark and Alex Hales. Took them into the 60s after in the 5th over before both were dismissed by Naveen ul Haq. By then, though, it was too late for the Foxes. Played 9, won 3, lost 6. It's pretty much means that they have to win all their remaining games to have a chance of going through Leicestershire now. Head coach Paul Nixon called this a must-win game, Adam. They didn't win it, and their chances of going through are now minimal.
Yes, so that leaves their record of played 9, won 3, lost 6, and we've mentioned it a few times before, their net run rate is so bad and will have taken an even bigger hit today because of the manner and the size of the victory. That's essentially an extra point dropped, and with 14 games they would need to win all 5 of those, you would think, to get up to the 14, 16 that they would need to be able to qualify, and I'm afraid you just can't see them doing that. The wait for a home win goes on for them. The wait for a complete performance goes on. The job was done, though, and they just couldn't get going. There was no stage, really, when Leicestershire were able to get any runs on the board. It's a hammering, it's a humiliation, and Leicestershire all but certain to be out of this competition.
And the problem is, of course, that the Yorkshire have thrashed Birmingham by 10 wickets, by the way. Birmingham 101, 106 without loss Yorkshire in the 1 ball left of the 13th over, and they were in the 4th spot which Leicestershire and the other
Yeah, I
counties
think
chasing
Did
them.
Durham beat Lancashire as well?
Well,
Because
that's
that
still
puts them-
playing.
Yeah.
Are still playing. Lancashire 130 all out in their 20 overs. That's quite a game, actually. Durham 86 for 5 in the 14th over. 45 wanted off 41 balls. And those are the other games taking place tonight in the North Group. It's been a great night for Nottinghamshire. But what